At long last, the classic Indycar series returns from the summer break. And what better way to make your return than to go Triple Crown racing? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to beautiful Michigan International Speedway, where this afternoon we get set to duke it out for 250 laps and 500 miles around this 2-mile behemoth. My name is Nola Rempel alongside Austin Edstrom. We are bringing you all of racing action from start to finish here tonight. Austin, it is an extremely long race with these drivers tonight. The last time they were at a 500-mile race here, 2016, and even without that, still been 3 years since their last trip to this legacy layout. Should be a fun race tonight with a lot of unpredictability ahead.
Yeah, I think that might be an understatement tonight, to be honest with you. This is going to be a super speedway style of race. A lot of draft incorporated into this thing. Going to be keeping these guys all bunched up on top of each other for a long portion of this race. And then any yellow flag that comes out at any point is just going to bunch all these guys up back together again and kind of start the cycle all over again. So I think it's going to be a little Talladega and Daytona-y if you think of the NASCAR side of things. And it's going to be a heck of a show, I'm telling you. It's going to be fantastic.
You can take a look at the driver standings entering today. Ethan Egan's points lead has shrunk down to just 20. Egan has not had too many races to write home about here this season after his initial dominance early on. That gap very much closing in. Cameron Dance with the chance here to take the points lead at the end of the night. But right now, he's got to get himself in with a good shot to win today. Don't discount, though, Jan Hoffman still very much in this race as well, just behind.
Yeah, still a 3-horse race for the championship up front, and you got to keep in mind drop week, so it might actually be a little bit tighter than that. What we're looking in the point standings right now, I think Dance is actually a whole lot closer than just the 20 points that we're seeing on your standings screen right now after the drop week. So lots to pay attention to coming forward with this, and obviously tonight's a big night with the 500-mile race at Michigan. Going to be an important one. Got to be here for all 500 miles to be able to get those points. So keep your nose clean all night long.
We saw quite the attrition-filled race down in Pocono. We'll see if it'll be an attrition-filled race here tonight at Michigan as well. But there's no better driver to talk about how to race this track than one of the drivers themselves. Let's go to your track guy for Michigan International Speedway tonight.
Welcome to Michigan International Speedway, located in Brooklyn, Michigan. I will take you on board for a lap around this track. The 2-mile oval is one of the fastest tracks on this year's CIS schedule. Going into turn 1, we reach speeds of up to 220 miles per hour in clean air. Thanks to the width of the track, we will see drivers pushing it 2, 3 or even 4 wide. We want to use all the track and exit turn 2 right next to the wall to keep the tire temps and wear to a minimum. The back straight is a good opportunity to set up a move going into turn 3. The typical line is to stay in the second lane and exit in the middle. Coming back onto the front stretch, we want to shorten the distance between turn 4 and turn 1 and go down to the white line. This also has the side effect of blocking a car going up your inside into turn 1. And that is one lap around the Michigan International Speedway. Another thing to mention is this is one of the few tracks where we pit out of turn 4. As you can see, it's very easy to lock up the tires, which will make green flag pit stops very interesting.
So that's a lap around the Michigan International Speedway, and still a lot to talk about before we get racing action fully underway. These drivers conducted a few practice starts right now as they try to get themselves in full working order for this afternoon, looking to get those last minutes of preparations in. It's about a minute and a half before we get set to grid up here, Austin, but we talk about the Triple Crown, right? I mean, 3 races, the Indy 500 at the end of the year, and then the Buttkicker 500s that have been run so far at Pocono, and now this afternoon at Michigan. You know for a fact that there is a lot to play for with these drivers, but especially for one Henry Bennett trying to go for Logan Simmons' $100 challenge, winning all 3 events. He's so far 1 for 3.
Yeah, obviously the only guy that can still do that 3 for 3 challenge. You got to win all 3 of the triple header, the Triple Crown races to be able to pull out that $100 bonus at the end of the season. Bennett won the race at Pocono not too long ago, or on the other side of the summer break, I should say. And now that we've gotten on the back part, he's got round 2, Michigan, and he's looking really good up at the top of the lineup in terms of warm-up lap times. I think he's pretty close to the front in qualifying as well. So I think he's going to be one to watch for this race. But to be honest, I think Michigan's a race that's a bit of a wild card. I think this is the type of racetrack that keeps everybody in it. keeps at least probably the top 10 in the main draft for a long, long time. So I think it could be a little bit of a crapshoot. He'll have to get a little bit lucky to be able to go to the final Triple Crown race of Indianapolis with a chance at that $100.
Well, we got ourselves with warm-up just coming to a close, so 500 miles about to kick off from this absolutely phenomenal circuit. Michigan has never failed to put on a show in the past at any race, in any league on Green Flag TV. Even the High Tide Racing League with a 13-car field put on a phenomenal show here in their first season. I'm very excited to see what 19 Dallara IR05s can do this afternoon. So let's take a rundown then of what your starting grid is going to look like as we get set to go racing around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Starting on the pole, it is Ethan Agan. The Texas native will start on pole with a 33.376. Alexander Russell, 200ths off of him out of the Midwest. Johnny Garrett from California is down in third, with the British bomber himself, Henry Bennett, down in the number 4 spot. The Finnish driver, Tuomas Mustonen, starting in 5th, with Cameron Dance for Orba Motorsports in 6th. Mike Grlica out of Ohio will be in 7th, with PDS Racing's Rafael Rodriguez in 8th. Jamie Wilson is in 9th, and then, of course, Randy Shoemake will be down in 10th.
11th place is Andrew Aitken with Robert Grosser on his outside. In 12th, Marshall Stanley lining up the inside of row number 7 with Lucas LaVille on his outside. Rob Barnicow on the inside of row number 8. Franz Josef Stum on his outside in 16th. 17th is Jan Hoffman with Andrew Adai Saunders in 18th. And Logan Simmons rounds out your 19-car field tonight.
So 19 cars, and out of those 19, 17 have gridded up so far. Andrew Adair Saunders and Logan Simmons both have not been able to make the call, so we're going to be down to 17 this afternoon. And you can see them starting to roll out, and this is a very anticipated start, right? I mean, this is always where it gets a little bit antsy, is right off the hitch, trying to see who's going to go where. If there's ever going to be a big accident on an oval, it's going to be in the early races. We've seen it so far at the other oval races we've ran. Gateway, we had a car flying into the catch fence on lap number 2. Charlotte Motor Speedway, we had a huge accident less than 20 laps in. Even at Pocono, we saw a car slamming into the inside wall at over 170 miles an hour within the first 10% of the race. So for this one, I think trends are saying we're going to get a big wreck here early on.
Well, yeah, and at this place, the field can stay packed up a whole lot more than those other racetracks, right? At Pocono, at Charlotte, at Gateway, you're getting out of the gas. Gateway, you're getting on the brakes. It causes a lot of comers and goers. But here, it's the draft. It's purely just the draft. And I don't know. I feel like it's gonna lend itself to some nervy moments and some accidents. But I also think it's gonna lend itself to a lot of strategy. Long 500-mile race, which in my mind means max fuel saved from the drop of the green flag. So I think we're going to see a lot of guys maybe just duck in line, stay in the main pack, and save.
As always, we're happy that you are joining us here this afternoon for what will no doubt be an absolutely intense ride from the Michigan International Speedway. The pace car is into pit road from the Michigan International Speedway, and the second race of the Triple Crown. It's go, 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 with Russell almost wrecking it before they even get to the line.
Oh boy, I saw it in the warm-up starts. I thought for sure the initial start was going to be bad. Everybody was having moments on warm-up starts and wrecking into each other, having tire spin. There, we saw it from the outside pole sitter. Luckily, he caught it, caused a huge stack up, and now everybody's getting a run on Ethan Agan, your pole sitter, because he got such a huge jump that he couldn't break the draft that everybody is flying up on him coming down to turn 3.
Rocketing off the high side of turn number 4. Ethan Agan will lead lap number 1 to green with the rest of the pack in tow just behind. Johnny Garrett looking to the outside. We got our first lead change of the night as Garrett sweeps around the outside and clears going into 1. Yeah,
Garrett took him around the outside. Agan lifted a little bit, just trying to get back into line, not fight it too hard too early. Again, long race, 250 laps. No reason to force the issue too early. Side by side for third. Bennett trying to go for that the second win of the Triple Crown, down on the inside, trying to take second place away, but he's going to be stuck on the inside for third and fall back to fourth.
Johnny Garrett pulling out a quarter of a second lead, but as we've seen before, these are cars that can really reel you in before you even know what's happening. So Garrett could find himself under some heavy fire early on behind. Cameron Dance drifting wide, made a touch of contact with Mooston, it looked like, and somehow they don't go flying into the fence.
Typically, all it takes is a touch of contact, and these Indy cars traveling at 200 plus miles an hour for you to have your race go up in smoke and it to be, you know, all for nothing. But Cameron Dance getting away with one there. Maybe a little lucky. He's a little tight, man. He's kind of the only one I'm seeing in the main pack that I feel like is pushing the nose. Everybody else seems to be able to get that car rotated through the center of the corner. Dance is struggling a little bit.
On board with Dance, running that outside line right now. You can see he's got one of the Aero X machines down on the inside of the racetrack that he is trying to fight it out with. He will pull clear of that Aero X machine. That would be Mike Gerlicka down on the inside line. So for Cameron Dance, his next target up the road going to be that of the 22 machine of Mustonen, still very much within the grasp.
Yeah, he just pushes through the center of the corner a little bit harder than the guys in front. I don't quite know what's going on behind the wheel of Cameron Dance's machine, but he is struggling a little bit, starting to lose touch on Thomas Mustonen in that 5th place spot. And he's under fire again for 6 as they're getting side by side coming out of turn number 2. Dance, again, he is just struggling, looking like he's going backwards.
So now we get into the middle portions of this race, and I know it's very early to be saying that, but you can tell drivers are trying to settle into a rhythm now. They're trying to see if they can get into those little drafting packs, and I think we're going to see kind of like what we saw at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, right? Drivers are going to be looking to save some fuel. They're not going to be too eager to lead this race. Still a very, very long way to go. You don't want to compromise yourself with the fuel early on. Right now, Johnny Garrett cutting through the air like a knife through butter to try and get himself up with the race lead, but Edith Hagen closing up to the tail end. Fuel run anticipated to be between 43, 44 laps thereabouts if you're looking to stretch it. So not enough to make this an even 4-stop race.
So maybe that takes a saving out of it. Not quite sure. Maybe you can save some time on pit road, having shorter pit stops because you've stayed in the draft, saving enough gas. But I don't know. It's kind of, we'll just have to wait into the race to kind of see. And who knows, we may not even get those green flag pit stops the way that some of these guys are racing up at the front of the field for about 5th place. It gets nervy out of turn 2, it seems. The wall just kind of comes out of nowhere. These guys getting tight. Seems like whenever they get into a side-by-side battle coming out of turn 2, that might be a point of contention all night where we see a good couple of accidents.
Mustonen getting around Henry Bennett for the number 4 spot, so put Thomas Mustonen up to the 4th place. Behind Henry Bennett and Cameron Dance exchange of blows as well. Jamie Wilson got by Mike Gerlicka for 7th. They're side-by-side looking for it a little bit deeper in this pack. Right now, you've got about the top 10 all in the line, and then 1 second back as Randy Schumacher in some no man's land. Marshall Stanley barely clinging on to the draft. Rafael Rodriguez and Jen Hoffman are in the mix of that as well. Rob Barnicow in 10th just put down the fastest lap of the race that last time by a 33.49. Henry Bennett back to the top side. Might be trying to set up an outside run around Mustonen, but he's instead got Cameron Dance trying to get around him down low.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to work out for Dance. And now he's going to be stuck on the bottom, which I really don't think. I don't think you want to be there. The train around the top, the draft train, seems to be where you want to be. I think Dance might find a hole here behind Bennett, but it looks like that's going to get closed off coming out of turn number 2. Dance just can't find a hole. Wilson able to fill the gap on the outside. Like I said, you just don't want to be on the bottom. If you make the move down there, you've got to make it stick. You've got to get clear and get yourself back up, or else I feel like you're just going to get freight train.
Yeah, I think this angle here does a great job of showing that while, yes, I mean, it's a wide racetrack, it's a crowded racetrack. There's not a lot of room for error. We got to battle on for the lead. Ethan Hagen going around the outside of Johnny Garrett into turns 1 and 2. That could be a bold move. Garrett with the slide job across the nose, almost into the wall. Hagen crosses him over down to the bottom, and he'll take the lead.
Well, he drove it in narrow down into turn number 1 and really abandoned the exit of that corner. Put Hagen on the bottom side of the racetrack, though, which we've been saying might be the spot that you don't want to be at because you can get freight trained. The good news is you have a tighter angle around the corner. You can make a little bit of ground. If you can get clear, you're fine. Hagen not able to do it through 3 and 4. Garrett is getting pushed down the front straightaway. Russell's going to take 2nd away from Hagen.
Take another look at this attempt here from Ethan Hagen to go for that move. That was absolutely wild as he got slid across the nose on. Could have been a nasty incident on the back straightaway. That was some good driving, though, from Ethan Hagen to not run over Garrett as he came across the racetrack. Meanwhile, Alexander Russell has taken over the race lead.
Oh, Garrett sliding back to 4th. I don't know if he had a moment through 3 and 4 or what, but he's dropped back from the race
Oh,
lead.
he caught the
out of
wall.
2. Holy cow, big moment for Garrett.
Well, that explains why it dropped so quickly. That could be serious damage for Johnny Garrett's car.
Oh, he's hit it again.
Yeah, he is. That car is hurt. You can tell he is losing a lot of downforce on that machine. Not a lot of visual damage at the moment, but that car not driving healthily. You can see just how much by Cameron Dance dragging up to the back of him.
Got to be right front suspension damage, right? I mean, he's got to just be fighting that all throughout the corner. Probably going to make that race car a whole heck of a lot tighter. And it's probably why we saw him find the fence a second time around, just having to get adjusted to it. Not able to extract the same amount of pace. He's still in the draft, and the tires are relatively new still, so I don't think he's going to see a mega drop in performance. I think he's going to be able to at least stay within this pack for now, but if this run goes to that 40-lap mark, down to the end of the fuel run, I think that as the tires start wearing, that damage is going to start hurting for Garrett.
Bit of a battle further in the pack here. This is Jamie Wilson, Mike Gerlicka, just behind them. Andrew Aiken, Henry Bennett exchanging places again. Henry Bennett has only been on the backslide since the start of this race. Started all the way up in 4th, and he is now down to 9th. So Henry Bennett looking for some more improvements. Meanwhile, Gerlicka trying to go around the outside of Jamie Wilson. Garrett into the wall again up the road, and how's that? Look at the 31 driving around the top side of the Team Chimera driver.
It's been clean but hard racing so far. I mean, this has been pretty fantastic. Everybody in the field giving each other just enough space, but racing each other hard for every single position out on the racetrack, whether it's for first, whether it's for 10th. Everybody keeping each other honest. And that top 10 have kind of separated themselves, I suppose. I think Shoemake and Stanley Hoffman have all kept themselves relatively close enough to be close enough to the main pack to, you know, at least keep them within the fight. But it is starting to get spread out back from 12th, 13th on back. Up towards the front of the field, though, these guys still just racing so hard. You get a moment of them single file where they don't have much, but then a run builds and somebody takes somebody too wide. And I think we're, with how hard we're racing, I feel like we're moments away from a couple 3-wide moves for maybe the race lead pretty soon, the way these front 3 are acting.
Johnny Garrett looking like he may have finally found a rhythm again in that Aero X machine. He's still seeing if he can't close at the back end of Cameron Dance. If he can start to reel that pack in, then I think it's safe to say that the damage could be manageable until it comes down to pit road, right? I mean, that's the big thing. In cars like these, if you come down to pit road, you're almost guaranteed to lose a lap with how fast they can run. So you want to try to avoid making an unscheduled stop as much as possible, and that is definitely what Garrett's trying to avoid right now. We got a 3-car train for the lead. They're breaking away from Cameron Danson.
I'm worried it's damage that can't be fixed for Garrett. I think that's right rear toe damage that they can't really touch, and I think he's off for the rest of the race.
You think
really
right rear? Oh boy, well,
or right front. Well, it might be right rear on that one. I think it's right front suspension damage, toe damage, whatever. Like I really do think that this is damage that Garrett's going to be nursing for the rest of the race, and he's just on a backslide. You see, it's bringing out mistakes. Maybe his outright pace hasn't completely dropped off. He's still somewhat competitive, but it's bringing out the mistakes because the car's not as easy to drive. He's able to force it back around the outside, trying to get something back, but I just don't think that car has it in it anymore.
It really does look like Garrett's starting to be fighting a losing battle. Oh, boy! Right, I think he hit the side of Gerlicka there, then strikes the wall. That's going to cause Aiken and Wilson to scramble. Andrew Aiken, his teammate, going to go down to the inside and take that spot away. Jamie Wilson, we're looking to follow Aiken right through.
Aiken takes the lead from Russell. These guys putting each other in the fence. I mean, everything. It's just, we're only 18 laps into this thing. We got 230 more to go. I mean, these guys are running like it's 15 to go. Getting a little ridiculous. Coming down to 3, we see Aiken diving it down into turn 3. Good move. Russell ended up having to give it up. Second 2. Oh, my word. Somebody has pounded the fence into turn number 2.
That's Garrett.
Garrett.
Johnny Garrett into the outside wall big time. Stopped on the outside of the racetrack. And that will force a caution. So yellow flag number 1 on the day. He'll take the tow back to pit road. We were talking about a fight of the losing battle, and, well, he just lost.
Yeah, I feel like it was pretty inevitable, right? I mean, we saw that thing get tighter and tighter every single time that he tagged the wall. Not sure what happened to get him to go just dead straight in the middle of 1 and 2 that time. I couldn't quite tell. I just saw the aftermath of it. But we're going to have to see, coming down to turn number 1, exactly what happened to Garrett. Oh, is this a 3-wide move coming down to 1? Not going to work out for him?
No, not yet. He's side by side with Aitken, though. Aitken, of course, down on the low side of the racetrack, trying to see if he can make this work. And, Aitken started to drift up, and he wasn't moving. Front end hopped, and that was it. Game over.
Oof.
Ouch. That's a hard lick.
Man, Johnny Garrett is not sending that turn 2 wall a Christmas card. I can guarantee you that. He hates that thing. He hit it so many times. I mean, we're only 20 laps into this race. He must have hit it half the laps that we came around here.
No kidding. Still trying to see if we can get a better angle on this where we can really see that impact at speed. Here we go. This might do it. Yeah.
I feel like he's low enough. Like, I feel like Garrett just kind of crowded him a little bit too low on the racetrack, right? I mean, I feel like Aitken deserves to come off of the bottom of the racetrack, not all the way to the wall, but I don't know. He crowded him really, really low. I feel like maybe overcompensating for the fact that he knows his race car is tight and he's got to kind of crowd a little bit lower to get a straighter run off the corner, but I don't know. I just feel like he held him a little bit too narrow coming off the corner. Aitken not really having anywhere else to go. You got to come off the corner at some point.
You see drivers coming down into pit road, looking to take some fuel, some tires, and get back out onto the racetrack. Important to note, because this is such a long race, there is no tire limit that the field here has to navigate this afternoon, so that should make it relatively easy for him. Let's ride aboard with Johnny Garrett here on what he saw. A wild incident coming down into turn 2. Just the second that car hopped the ground, there was no saving it. And then, of course, this is a really bad sight to see behind you, just the field flying up on you. He kept that car to the outside, though. He was not about to let them hit them when he came down across the racetrack and he took the tow.
Yeah, respectable move, taking the tow. I mean, if your right front tire gets ripped off your car, I guess that's probably the only thing to do. Not really much else you can really do in the race. So maybe his only move. But, I mean, he got it done quick enough to where you're like, okay, well, you know what, he got out of the car quick, made sure nobody else got involved. So respectable move, just unfortunate to see it happen 20 laps into this race, because he was obviously quick, led some laps early, and unfortunately just one mistake compounds itself into a bigger issue.
That's going to hurt him pretty big at the points, too. He was 5th place, 100 points out of the points lead coming into tonight. So that's not going to do him any favors in trying to close the gap.
It's definitely going to hurt him a little bit in the points. Going to fall a couple positions unless a couple of his main competitors also have issues, which I can't rule out, to be fair. I think at a track like Michigan, we're going to see a couple big accidents. We're going to see a couple more mistakes. And with how tight it's been out of turn 2 time and time again, whether we're too wide or whether it's just somebody being single file and pushing too hard out of the corner, I got to believe we're going to see wrecks coming out of that corner time and time and time and time again tonight.
Ethan Hagan leads the way. Alexander Russell is second. They're the only 2 drivers that have not moved from their starting positions for this restart. Big mover of the day, Andrew Aitken, +7, along with Jan Hoffman, who runs in 10th. Big loser, besides Johnny Garrett, would be Henry Bennett, down 5. So Bennett still looking to improve as he chases the Logan Simmons $100 challenge for winning all 3 Triple Crown races. Pace car is off into pit road, and Ethan Hagan will look to lead this field back to the green flag.
Big stack up further back. Can't quite tell. I think it's Shoemake that has kind of held up a good pack going down into turn number 1 from about 8th on back. Really, really separating this field even heavier than it was on that initial start. We had the top 10 kind of separate themselves initially. Everybody in the top 8 is broken up. It's everything from 8th on back that is kind of bunched up. This is the only pack in the top 8.
Yeah, that was a weird restart from Randy Shoemake. We'll ride on board with him for this restart. He was already lagging back a good bit, and I just don't think he was, too
He doesn't look like he's in the wrong. I don't think he's in the right gear.
Oh, you're right. He started from second. Everybody up here started from first.
I mean, like I said in the pre-race, though, everybody was having nervy moments in warm-up, wrecking outright, just destroying their car in warm-up. So I think he's just being overly cautious. The problem with that is they've given up a ton of time. I mean, a ton of time to the rest of the pack.
And that's time that you can't exactly close in either, because all of these guys are packed up. They're helping each other out by drafting together. So they either have to hope for another caution or for these guys to make some big mistakes on pit road.
It's always frustrating, and I don't know. The single file restarts can get on my nerves a little bit, but in real life, I think they work, and I probably prefer them in NASCAR. But
I was going to say, well, don't forget,
NASCAR
used them until like what, the 2005? Did that be switched to double?
And with a lot of professionals, I think it works. But whenever you get a bunch of people in iRacing, it's a little bit harder to ensure that it's going to stay packed up, or that somebody's not going to make a mistake like that. And unfortunately, it's shattered the pack. I mean, that first run, the top 10 were within a second of each other for the first 15 laps just about here. I mean, 8th place is 3 seconds back.
Well, you know what they say, that's racing. That stuff, even in the real world, that sort of thing can still happen. So that's just the name of the game. Alexander Russell trying to fend off Mustonen. Mustonen down to the inside line, the iconic motorsports driver. Trying to take one down low for the number 2 spot. Trying to link up with his teammate so they can go 1-2 for the race lead.
Russell around the outside of Mustonen, able to get it done. Coming out of turn number 2, a little tight there for Mustonen, but he finds the gap. Tucks back in line, has the draft coming down the back straightaway, thinks about peeking down to the bottom. Russell half guarding it, half taking to the top. He's going to get the run coming off of turn number 4 and use the draft down the front straightaway. He could have a run on Ethan Hagen here down the front and down into turn number 1.
Well, he had the run, but he didn't choose to take it anywhere.
Yeah, they're fuel saving stuff. That was a fuel save lift from him. He was not even full throttle all the way out of 4. I'd be willing to bet he's running 80-90% throttle down the straightaways, just saving some gas, not pushing too hard. And I don't blame him. If you can push this thing to 47, 48 laps, maybe that's all you need to cut out a pit stop, especially at this point. That early caution very well could have put these guys into a position where they could cut out a pit stop with a little bit of fuel saving.
I was actually doing the math on that under caution, and I don't think they quite got there. Assuming that you go exactly 44 laps on every fuel stint, that still puts you to 220 laps. These guys came down and pitted at 21 thereabouts. That still leaves them 10 laps short.
10 laps short over 220 laps, though. I feel like you can save 10 laps in 220.
It's a big ask when you have to run as close together as you do here.
But, well, it helps you, though, because you're stuck in that draft. I don't know. If you're in the main pack, if you're in this main group right here, I think you can do it. If you're running 4th, 3rd, I think you can run 70% throttle, 80% throttle down the front straightaway, and hell, you'll probably save those 10 laps by halfway.
Well, I mean, I know one driver who won't be able to. It's the race leader, Ethan Hagen.
Oh, yeah. Big time. He's got no chance. If you stay out front, then no. There's no way you're saving 10 laps over that whole thing. But again, you got a good chunk of time in there. Who knows over the course of the next 220 when you might find an opportunity to save some gas.
We saw that going on at Charlotte, right? Drivers would go up, lead a few laps, then they would strategically drop to the back, not wanting to stay up there and run with these guys in the race lead.
It's a weird style of racing. It's very, very strange, like where you don't want to lead until the last 20 or so laps and then only then if you can make it on gas. Very, very weird, but it leads to some fun moments. And I mean, with all the crazy draft madness we've had so far, I mean, it's kind of obvious. It leads us up to some pretty hairy moments. But the top 5 have separated themselves. Ethan Hagen back to Cameron Dance, and then there's a little pack of 2 back here. Wilson Gerlicka look like they're actually running up onto our race leaders, cutting into that lead. They're within the draft, looking like they're going to make this 5-car battle a 7-car battle. We'll just have to wait and see on whether they boost the speed of the top 5 or whether they get to racing them and actually pull everybody else that kind of got hurt by Shoemake's restart. See if it can pull them back up to the lead.
Well, they have been closing in a little bit. They're down to just under half a tenth of a second up to Cameron Dance, who hangs onto the tail end of this field. They're gaining about, about half a tenth a lap on average, give or take. So there is a possibility for them to close on in. They just got to make sure that they can actually be there to fight it out at the end of this one. But you mentioned it being a very different style of racing, right? And I mean, you're absolutely correct. It's a very familiar track for both of us. The racing, though, not even close to being similar. I'm sure a lot of NASCAR fans would eat their shorts over watching racing like this in stock cars. That'd be insane.
Well, to be fair, we basically watch 3 wide of this at Talladega and Daytona every year because they just sit there 3 wide fuel save the entire time, but it's even more aggressive fuel saving. So I don't know, man. It's more entertaining on this, that's for sure. This is actually entertaining to watch. The NASCAR stuff, it's obvious that they're going 25 miles an hour slower than they could be going, so it's not fun.
So this has very much turned into a 7-horse race for the lead. Wilson and Gerlicka have both caught up to the tail end of this field, although Gerlicka still tagging onto the rear end, trying to cling on to the draft. But no problems for this pack up the road. And this should be a rather, again, I think we've really settled into a rhythm here. I don't think we're going to be seeing too much excitement from this leading pack unless somebody really makes a mistake, or unless you're Jimmy Wilson and you want to make your way up through the train. But otherwise, I mean, everybody here, they're being civil, right? They're not looking to make any sort of aggressive moves, no aggressive dives. They're just trying to save some fuel. And then there's Wilson.
Yeah, it's, you bring in 2 cars that hadn't been in the main pack that just ran them down, and typically one or both of them want to end up being a wild card and pressing the issue, and now we're actually seeing a little bit of racing up here for second as well. Mooseton down to the inside of Russell for that second place spot, trying to take it, trying to clear him, coming off of turn number 4, not able to do it. And this is what I was talking about. Can this bring everybody from Randy Shoemake on back, or I should say Rob Barnicow now in the 8th place spot? Can this bring those guys back into it? They're 3.5 seconds back. Can these guys getting side by side and racing each other bring those guys up to the main pack? And it might be side by side for the lead. Egan closed off Russell, then thought better of it, gave him the outside groove. Now Russell's looking for the race lead.
Well, Russell going from defense to offense. He was trying to keep Mooseton at bay, and he did so. Fended off the second attack for the number 2 spot, and now he's going to turn that into an offensive run with the momentum and charge around the outside to take the lead. How about that? Alexander Russell to the point from the number 2 spot while fighting off Mooseton for 3rd, and now Egan slipping back through the field.
Can Egan find a hole, or is he just going to get stuck on the bottom side of the racetrack all the way back to the back of the train? Cameron Dance might have a hole for him on the outside here going down into turn number 3, and it looks like he does. So Egan's going to fall back all the way to the 5th place spot after leading this train for the last 20 or so laps. Tough break for Egan, but now he's back in the pack. Maybe he can save some gas.
I was going to say, that's not horrible, though. He still has the draft, and now he can save a lot of that fuel that he expended while he was leading the race. And now Alexander Russell, the one that could very soon be put on the fuel strategy back foot here. This is, of course, all assuming we don't get any more cautions throughout the course of this race, which, as we've discussed and as we've seen at other tracks like Gateway, it can be a bit of a tough ask sometimes on ovals.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on the fuel numbers. It's a long race, so we'll have to sit back and wait and watch and see if we even get a yellow flag. And to be honest, I really don't think the yellows. I think that we can sit here and talk about the fuel strategy all we want, and it might come into play a little bit, but I think we're going to get some type of yellow in the middle of it to split everything up, whether it's lap 70, lap 110, or lap 210. I think it's coming at some point to ruin a couple of these guys' days.
A lot of the packs further back have broken apart. Randy Shoemake and Rob Barnicow right now are still together. Then you got Jan Hoffman just about a second ahead of Henry Bennett, who has continued to slip back, and who has now lost the top 10. Just behind Bennett, Stanley and Stoom loosely connected. Rafael Rodriguez side by side with Francoso Stoom trying to get around him.
Moves back towards the back of the pack, way wide into turn number 1. Probably not the best line. Rodriguez just giving the position up. Stoom able to take it. actually, they're still side by side coming through the back straightaway. I figured for sure Stoom was going to be able to take that spot, but Rodriguez back around the outside. They're not done with this side by side battle. Back for the 13th place spot. Rodriguez with the momentum around the outside of the racetrack. Stoom's got the draft down on the bottom as the car's in front, kind of cutting down on the apron, but Rodriguez finally going to get that one done. Move him up to 13th, see if he can run down Stanley and Bennett in front of him.
They're doing his darndest, trying to see if he can put something down. Meanwhile, Marshall Stanley and Henry Bennett going side by side down the back straightaway as well, and Henry Bennett going to drop back to 12th now. So Bennett has been hemorrhaging positions since that restart, and he is now well outside of the top 10. Has not been a day to remember for Bennett. At the very back of the field, you've got a Vortex sim racing duo, Robert Grosjean and Lucas Laville. Very reminiscent of what we saw at Charlotte, except back then it was Laville and Hoffman, and they were at the head of the field. But again, Hoffman ran out of gas on the final lap.
I'm kind of surprised to see Hoffman, Laville back in the back outside of the top 9.
That's grosser.
Both these guys are. Well, I know, but I'm talking about Hoffman up in 10th as well.
Oh, I see.
Right, like I'm surprised that Hoffman's back in 10th. I'm surprised that Laville's back in 16th. These are guys that, on these 1.5 miles or the bigger tracks, like Michigan, 2 Mile Oval, I feel like they're typically up at the front or find themselves up towards the front, right? They were 2 of the main contenders at Charlotte. One of them won. And, well, this just has not gone the same way. They're not even connected like they've been at the bigger tracks so far in the season, and they're in the back half of the field.
Well, I mean, you also kind of got to remember for them, right? I mean, they were caught up in that huge checkup from Randy Shoemaker right off the hitch on that restart, so they were on the back foot right from the get-go, with no chance of being able to do anything about it. Meanwhile, the top runners coming around through turn numbers 1 and 2 for the 45th time today. They're still running strong, but again, not seeing too much in the way of drivers looking to climb back through the field.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for anybody not in this top 7 to kind of get themselves there, and then even then, I feel like Mark Gerlich is starting to fall off a little bit. He's got to fight to stay in this draft, just right on the edge of it, starting to lose touch a little bit.
Well, he's not too far back. I mean, I think he's still up there enough that he can hang on to the draft, but it's I think the fact that he might be in 6th gear isn't helping him at all either when he's in the corners. A lot of drivers, they tend to run in 5th through there, and that is something that I've been noticing throughout. He is not a driver that's been running in 5th gear a lot tonight. He's been running it up in that final drive up in 6th, and that does bog him down a little bit off the corner exit.
He just doesn't look any closer. He doesn't look any further away from the lap before. I don't know. I'd just be worried. You're in that draft. You should be able to suck up a little bit if you're Gerlicka, but it's just not working for him.
So with the back of Cameron Dance, and you kind of see here, I mean, we'll bring up the telemetry here as well. I mean, watch that gear here. See, look at that. Downshifts into 5th with the rest of the field up the road. That helps him get a little bit of extra speed off the corner exit, and that's what's been allowing them to stay in front of Gerlicka so consistently like this.
Gerlicka, that looks further off this lap. If I'm Mike Gerlicka, I'm starting to worry a little bit. He's about to be in no man's land. He is struggling. He's running a little bit narrower through 1 and 2. I think that might end up hurting him down the straightaway. It's going to hurt his run a little bit. He had to run a little bit slower through the corner, which is going to hurt him down the straight. Even with the draft, he's got to run a little bit higher, keep that momentum up so that he can use the draft down the front to actually reel these guys in, rather than it just kind of negate the damage that gets dealt to him down the straightaway. But he looks even further this time.
It's pretty wild just how much that one little gear shift can make, right? I mean, that's only difference of like, what, 500 RPM or so. If these were stock cars, we wouldn't be oh boy, they almost caught the wall there. But if these were stock cars, we wouldn't be batting an eye on that, right? I mean, that's not a lot of RPM to be losing with a gear shift. But in cars like these, where they're so aero dependent and momentum dependent, that 500 RPM makes a massive difference, and we're seeing what that difference makes when you don't have it coming off the corners at a speedway like this.
Every little bit matters at these places, man. With these race cars, every little bit of speed matters. And I got to point this out. I don't know if you mentioned this or if we both glossed over it, but Henry Bennett back in 15th. I guess he had a bad pit stop. He got stuck behind the shoemake incident on the restart. So that was one of your contenders, one of your front runners, back at the back of the field.
Yeah, it's a bit puzzling, actually. Henry Bennett dropping back a long way on this one. He actually dropped quite a few spots in the span of one lap, and this might be why. Whoa, boy! Huge snap of oversteer from Bennett, and he nearly went around. That would be the reason on why he fell back so much, and he may have smoked the tires as a result.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet. And then these things you really do not want to slide them. They are not too happy whenever you give them a good little sliding. It doesn't even look like it's that big, right? Like I've had a much bigger snap oversteer in a NASCAR car and saved it. And you feel like you're on top of the world, but in these Indy cars, you're traveling 40 miles an hour faster at that point on the racetrack. It looks smaller, but man, I can tell you it feels way, way, way bigger.
Well, now Luke is being able to climb the way through the field. Robert Grosser and Luke Laville, they've been biding their time, saving a lot of those tires. They're now up into 13th and 14th. They just got by Henry Bennett and Rafael Rodriguez, two drivers that have been fighting for their lives up the road and burning up a lot of their equipment. So now that's allowing for these two to slowly climb their way through the order.
Yeah, they're picking up some scraps, but still 12 seconds off the race lead. I know that, you know, they did this at Charlotte, right? I said it was Laville and Hoffman kind of working together. They did it at Pocono again where they were half decent. I expected this to be a place where it would work great. I expect the teamwork stuff to be fantastic at a place like Michigan, but it just hasn't worked out. They have not been what I expected them to be today, but you know, they're working their way back up towards the front, at least. Like you said, they're up to 13th and 14th, but still 12 seconds off the race lead. It's going to be a tall ask for them to reel all that back in. Maybe they're on the mega fuel safe strategy and they're trying to cut out a pit stop, but I don't know. I'd be worried about giving up 13 seconds over the course of this 30-lap run.
Ethan Aitken under fire. He's going to have Andrew Aitken going around the outside of him. They're trying to make, so some of the Aero X teammates actually looking to exchange hands here. And, oh, sorry, that's one of the Iconic Motorsports drivers, not Aero X. So looking like, I think Aitken's trying to link back up with his teammate up the road. They might be, you know what that means? They might be about to mount a charge here on Alexander Russell up the road.
They might be trying to mount a charge, or they might be coming down pit road here pretty soon. We are 35 laps since the pit stop, so we're coming up on pit stops in the next 10 or so laps. You got to be thinking these guys are probably going to be getting into position for that here pretty soon. But to your point, I think they might want to take the race lead before the pit stops. They might want that clean air, have the 1-2 locked up before they come down pit road.
Be pretty invaluable coming off of pit road and clean air, especially when you don't have to worry about some of the lap traffic that might come about your way. And that's, I think, one of the really difficult factors you got to take into consideration at a track like this right now. I mean, you take a look at this track map, there's a pretty big spread throughout the field. If you come down to pit road, there's no guarantee you're coming out in clean air.
Yeah, there's not a guarantee, but I feel like you gotta feel hopeful. You gotta have some friends come down with you. You can't be coming down pit road all by yourself, right? I feel like if you come out and you don't have anybody with you, I actually feel like it's a detriment. You got to have that draft, somebody to work with. So I think you're probably working with somebody saying, hey, let's go down the same lap. Let's work with each other coming out. So I don't know if the clean air is necessarily that big of a deal on the pit stops for a track like Michigan and these things, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. Probably 8-9 laps away from the pit stops. Russell holding on to the lead, but man, he's got two teammates behind him that are going to overtake him before the pit stops, I believe. Almost looking to the inside.
And look at that. Aitken immediately went down with him to help him out along the bottom side. So Russell being hung out to dry off the top side. Iconic Motorsports ganging up on your race leader. They're going to go 1-2 before they even get off of turn number 4. You wonder if maybe Alexander Russell let them have that one, though, so he can get back in line and get some draft in, and that way he doesn't waste precious time fighting them.
Yeah, no reason to throw out a parachute, right, and slow everybody down and bring another couple people into the fight. Ooh, man, Thomas getting really tight coming out of turn number 2. Wilson and Dance have fallen back off of this main pack, this 4-car battle for the race lead, so kind of separate themselves once again. So if you're Russell in that number 23 had been leading the race, you get a challenge, don't fight it too hard. Just keep your speed up. Keep this as the race for the win. See if you can't get one of those Iconic Motorsports guys to make a mistake and shuck them out of the way at some point, because I feel like them having numbers is beneficial to them. At least get it down to a 1v1v1 and give yourself a good opportunity. But other than that, I'm liking what he's doing so far. And I got to point out, too, we've been having a lot of issues on green flag pit stops, I feel like, in this series, or near misses or near moments. So be very wary coming down to pit road, because these teammates are going to come down together, and I think Egan's had a bad pit stop before where he's hit a teammate. So we got to pay attention to stuff like that.
I mean, you're only trying to scrub off like 170 miles an hour of speed in about 3-4 seconds, right? I'm sure that's an easy feat to do.
Easy peasy.
When you're inches apart from other drivers to boot.
I could do it in my sleep.
I'm sure you could.
Yep,
I'm sure I can do it in my sleep, too. The question is, can I do it awake? We can dream all we like. I mean, I say that having, well, I'm gonna recant that for a moment. I actually won an Indycar race here, but it was with the new Indycars on the new Michigan.
Doesn't count.
Well, the speeds are similar, but I mean the way the cars drive is not even close.
I don't know. I'm messing with you. I'm surprised that you won, though. I'm surprised that you race. I didn't think that.
It was like 2 years ago. Oh. It was like 2 years ago, and I won under caution because of a wreck with 2 to go. So, what are you gonna do?
They all count the same. They all count the same.
You're not wrong, especially in this series where you don't have green-white checkers.
Exactly. Which is probably the more, legitimate way to do it. Nonetheless, we got a pit stop. Jamie Wilson coming down pit road.
Sure is. Jamie Wilson, the first driver to hit pit road, the first driver to actually properly commit to green flag pit stops. It's a bold move coming down all by yourself, though, isn't it?
Yes. I don't know if I like the move. I feel like you've got to have a dancing partner. You've got to have somebody come down with you. The draft is so important here. Now, he could come out and pair up with somebody after the pit cycle, but he was paired with somebody. He had Dance out there somewhat close to him, so I don't know. A little early.
Austin thinks it's a little early. Hoffman and Marshall Stanley are linked up nose to tail. They've got Franz Josef Stum just behind them as they charge it around into turn numbers 1 and 2. Sorry. What about the top runners? When do they come down? I feel like once these guys come down, everybody's going to be in the fight.
Well, we can kind of get an idea on who is trying at least to push the fuel, right? Like, who goes the furthest? Who stretches this fuel tank the furthest? And how many out of those 10 laps that they need to save do they save? You said 44 laps a stint. So who goes further than 44? And how many laps do they go past 44? These guys have completed 43. So everybody that completes this one would be 44 right now. And that would be coming down pit road. So if anybody stays out here, they're already cutting numbers off from that 10 laps that they need. It looks like all of the top 4 stay out. So we could be seeing a lot of guys trying to cut into that number a little bit. Jan Hoffman not choosing to be one of them. He's coming down from the 10th place spot.
Oh, twitching a little bit as he came down as well, locking it up with a 4-tire slide. But hey, you're going to change those wheels out anyway, may as well. So he's down the pit road from 13th. So 2 cars have come down now, still waiting on the top 4.
44 completed. All these guys looking to complete 45, and they're all pushing out wide, coming out of the corner. So clocking off another, or checking off another lap out of the ones that they need to save. Gerlicka not able to save. Shoemake not able to save. Barnacow not able to save. So a couple of these guys up front, though, they've cut off 2 laps now. I think all of them might be coming in, though. That might be all they can save.
Stanley, Stum, Grosser all in the pit road as well. This is at least half the field that's in the pit road right now. Coming around through 3 and 4. Race leader slowing. He's coming to pit road. Egan trying to go around the outside to take the lead from his teammate. Not going to happen, and sliding all over the place for all 4 drivers.
We got to make sure nobody sped. I'm going to go back and just make sure, because it was pretty close for a couple of them. And I think everybody's going to be A-okay at the line.
Potentially long stop for Rodriguez. Problems for Barnacow. Barnacow's into the grass. Barnacow with a big mistake off pit road, and one of the Vortex drivers just drove around him, but that might be a penalty for an unsafe pit exit on both accounts. We'll take a look at that in a moment. Right now, your race leader's in the middle of pit stops.
There might have been some contact between Russell and Moosen on pit road. Mustonen cut across the nose of Russell coming to his pit box, and I definitely heard some grinding on the front wing of Russell.
So potential problems for Alexander Russell as well as he came down to pit road. We'll take a look at all of these as Russell gets around Ethan Ing with a better launch out of pit road. So this is first the Alexander Russell. He is alongside with Ethan Agen. You can tell he's actually getting a little bit of speed on them. So Mustonen not confident he could even make it to his pit box potentially, and then turning in. Oh, yeah, you're right. There was a little bit of contact there. Andrew Agen with a long stop, by the way. He was in there for 13 seconds. That's a really long time to be caught in pit road.
Even with that for Russell, he slid through the box because of it. It put him off. He comes out of pit road behind Agen, but then immediately jumps him on the back straightaway. So Russell, through that pit sequence, through contact on pit road, through sliding through his box and having to reverse, actually takes the lead. I don't really know how you manage that, but good job from Russell.
And then in the midst of all of this, Rob Barnicow had a moment coming off of pit road as well. Take a look at this. Oh, he just lost the throttling up and just grazed. I think he grazed the wall, but with the damage model, it didn't register it.
I hope that they got that black flag cleared on that if they got one. Whoever that was that went around the outside.
I don't think they got one at all. They would have been in the pit road by now. It's been so long.
Okay, good. Oh, that would have been. Oh, that would have been heartbreaking if you had to either slow up heavily for them or get a black flag for that. That would have been really, really rough. I think they've loosened up on the black flag restrictions on that yellow line rule a little bit since it's been implemented. But every time somebody flirts with it, I get a little nervous.
So the top two, Russell and Agen, nose to tail. Mustonen and Dance just tagging on loosely in the wings, but not able to reel them in. Of course, Buttkicker, the main sponsor for all the Triple Crown races. This race is, of course, the Buttkicker 500. And, of course, who better to talk about Buttkicker than, well, Buttkicker themselves. Let's take a listen in while we'll go side by side on this Green Flag run.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. My name is Zach, Community and Content Manager for Buttkicker. And so a lot of you know who we are and what we do, but for those of you who don't know what we do or kind of want to know more, let's get into it. Buttkickers are haptic transducers that generate vibration based on audio signal. We're in cinemas and home theaters around the world and are favorite of gamers, specifically flight simmers and sim racers. And these are kind of two areas where Buttkicker really shines. Through our Haptic Connect software, we take telemetry data from the sim and translate that into real-time, accurate feedback. And so what this could look like is you feel your wheels slipping whenever you're pushing too hard, or you feel the engine vibration, or you feel the rumble strips whenever you get to the edge of the track. This information is invaluable to drivers during a race, and it kind of helps to close that gap between the sim and the driver by introducing the feeling of being in an actual car. We have two options in our gaming lineup, the Gamer Plus and the Gamer Pro. Both models offer USB-C connectivity, premium cabling, digital amp displays, and they also both come with our 80/20 post mount as well as Haptic Connect standard version, both included at no charge. So the Gamer Plus comes with a clamp mount option as well as 3 bolt feet in case you want to bolt straight to your chair, straight to your rig. And it has 6 ounces of moving mass inside, which makes the Plus perfect for gaming chairs or your lighter rigs. And the Pro has the clamp mount option available, and it has 16 ounces of moving mass inside. So that makes the Pro kind of ideal for really heavy, sturdy rigs, or those of us who just want kind of a little extra shake. Both the Plus and the Pro can be used in multiple unit configurations. You could do front and back, left and right, or four corners, and you just set those up right in Haptic Connect, and the software kind of does all the back end work of mixing and balancing these different effects. The spatialized haptic options just take what is already, a great thing, and just kind of add some more detail and more layers to it. I guess the last thing I'll leave you guys with is the haptics are an important piece of the sim racing ecosystem, and it's something that you kind of have to try for yourself before you can understand the difference that it makes. One of our most common comments is, I can't drive without it, or I forgot to turn it on and something felt wrong. It's a really powerful addition to your sim rig. And if you want to learn more, head over to the buttkicker.com. We have plenty of information and resources there. Yeah, so that's all I've got. Thanks for having me, and I hope everyone enjoys the race.
So a quick word from Buttkicker on that one. We are still working lap 77 of 250 this afternoon. Still a long ways to go on the Buttkicker 500. Taking a run down through your field, Alexander Russell in the lead with Ethan Hagen in second. They have exchanged hands. They currently run 1-2 and 1.7 seconds ahead of Mustinen and Cameron Dance. Andrew Aiken and Jamie Wilson both used to be in the run, making it a 6-car race for the lead. And of course, everything is split apart with that green flag pit stop. Michael Licka runs in 7th. Randy Shoemake was in 8th, and then it was Jan Hoffman to round out the top half of the field here.
And the way that the lead packs have cycled out have kind of surprised me under these green flag pit stops. I expected Hagen and Mustinen to find each other, but instead those guys got split up. One in the main twosome up at the very front. Ethan Hagen running with Alexander Russell up in the race lead, and then Mustinen stuck back there with Cameron Dance in 3rd and 4th. And it looks like the leading pair is a little bit quicker. Hagen and Russell having this a little bit or figured out a little bit better. They've been 0.2 of a second faster than Mustinen and Dance lap in, lap out. So the front two figured out just a little bit better than Mustinen and Dance. They're the quickest on track.
They very much are. You can see Ethan Hagen really trying to see if he can't chase after Alexander Russell. I wonder how long this is going to last before Russell realizes he doesn't want to be leading this race anymore, because Hagen is just living it up right now, saving all of that gas, all of that draft right behind Russell. But I think that 23 car knows he can't afford to stay out there for long, or he's going to be on a strategic back foot.
It's a very weird scenario you're in right now if you're Russell, right? You've got it narrowed down to, if this race just runs out the rest of the way and everything stays the exact same, all right, me and Ethan Hagen are going to finish 1-2, period. And that's pretty accurate, except for the fact that, whenever we come down for another pit stop, he's going to have to take more fuel if he leads this entire thing. He's going to lose some time to Ethan Hagen, and they're going to get separated. And it could bring Mustinen and Dance back into this if they split up or separate and do the little switcheroo. And they both save gas. So it all depends. It's a big strategy race from this point on. How can these two work together to help each other until that last run? The last run is whenever you really kind of pull the rug out from out the other person and say, nah, this is just mine for now. I'm taking the race win. You can have second. But at this point, if you're Hagen, you probably got to think, okay, I've got to pass him in about 10 laps and let him save gas so that we can continue to have our race lead over that second twosome. I feel like that's probably the best bet. And then in that last run, you better be second in line and just saving for that pit stop so that you take as little on the actual pit stop and come out in first.
You see Rob Barnikel right behind Jan Hoffman. They had a really near miss coming out of pit road when Rob Barnikel broke sideways and nearly went into the wall. They're currently headed up a pack of 4. 9th, 10th, 11th, and then 12th tagging on right at the tail end of this one. All's trying to see if they can navigate some sort of momentum. I think that's Franz Josef Stum, and I believe that to be Lucas Laville tagging on just behind him. So Robert Grosjean in no man's land, Henry Bennett in no man's land. Henry Bennett, man, this is very uncharacteristic with this 007 car. If there's ever a car to be at the front, it's usually this one. I'm very shocked to see that he has struggled so much in this second stint of this race.
He must have found the wall at some point, right? I mean, there's got to be something we're missing. I can't believe that he would be this far back. He won Pocono. He's the guy up here running for the the Triple Crown, and he's peeling down to the apron.
Oh,
Not
boy.
quite sure what he's doing.
What
So
was that?
I'm telling you, I don't know if he's found the fence at some point and it's taken a lot of performance out of that thing, but it doesn't look good.
You almost wonder if he's battling a hardware issue based on that big pull down to the inside for seemingly no reason. Meanwhile, Rob Barnicow getting around the inside of Jan Hoffman, so that puts Barnicow into 9th, Jan Hoffman down to 10th, and then Franz Josef Stum, Lucas Laville bring it up 11th and 12th. So time's a wasting for this pack if they really want to try to get themselves in with some good runs going. Barnicow doing a good job, though, on hanging on to that 9th place now that he's out in front of Hoffman.
Yeah, hanging on to it. They got 8 seconds up the road to Shoemake, Wilson, but Shoemake's by himself, so maybe this group of 4 could run Shoemake down and fight for that 8th place spot. But other than that, these guys have really gotten separated from the main pack. I'm honestly surprised that they're as bunched up together as they are after the pit stop. So we've got a pack of 4 cars all bunched up, nose to tail, from 9th on back. I'm kind of surprised. Laville's done a great job getting himself up to his other teammate, though, right? Laville was stuck back there with Grosser, 6 seconds off these guys. Somehow he's found Hoffman up here in 10th. Maybe they could get together and start working together again, like we've seen in the past.
If you want to take a look at exciting races, look no further than the High Tide Racing League MF Racing Designs Cup Series tomorrow night at the Darlington Raceway. The final race in the round of 8 before we reset one more time for the championship finale 2 weeks from now. And right now, it is effectively winner takes all for that final transfer spot into the Final Four. So it is going to be an all-out grudge match. The track too tough to tame. The OMSRL Cup Series hits up the road courses for the first time of the season at the Sonoma Raceway, while the Beer League will swing out to Braselton, Georgia, and Road Atlanta. And I believe Wilson may have just dropped out of the race. They were running up around 6th place. They've dropped to 15th and are nowhere to be found on the racetrack.
I think that's going to be it for Jamie Wilson. I'm still not seeing anything in the iRacing chat denoting anything, so I'm thinking that's going to be a internet issue.
Most likely. We don't have rain 2 cause problems in this series.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Well, typically it would have showed by now if he manually disconnected or Alt F4'd or something, but with him just disappearing and seeing him plummet through the field and nothing yet, I'm definitely guaranteeing an internet or a
Throughput,
software
maybe?
issue about with iRacing, and packet loss. So Jamie Wilson is out of the service, unfortunately. So he's dropping out from 6th place. Had a good run going, so unfortunate to get 90 laps put in and have to call it quits. I mean, that's pretty irritating if you're Jamie Wilson.
One of the heavy-hitting Team Chimera drivers down and out. There you see Stoom taking one to the inside of Jan Hoffman. So Hoffman about to link up with his teammate Lucas Laville just behind. Franz Josef Stoom still battling to the inside of the 05. He is not quite able to fully get clear yet. Hoffman's doing a great job on hanging that one around the outside, drifting up out of turn number 2. Stoom's got the run, and now Barnicow is a sitting duck up the road.
See if Barnicow can hold him off. It's going to be tough for him to do it, but who knows? He's got all these guys just lined up right behind him, looking to make a charge, but who knows? He's breaking the draft up there, trying to do anything he can. But Stoom is lined up with Laville and Hoffman right behind him. I mean, they look like they're just about to sling him out of a cannon and shoot him up towards Barnicow, but Barnicow's still pulling away from these guys.
Maybe not 100% settled on where the new kind of hierarchy is at in this drafting train. There's steam if they can't try it. We have settled into a very long green flag run, and this has really started, I think, play to the trends that we've seen at quite a few other racetracks, particularly, Pocono, particularly as well, like that of Charlotte. You get one caution in the first 20 laps right out of the gate, and then an extremely long green flag run that could see you through to the end of the race. I mean, that's been the trend for just about every oval race we've had so far this season other than Gateway.
Yeah, and then it's just whenever the field gets broke up like this, it's hard to see somebody make a big enough a mistake to bring out a yellow. And then even like maybe if it's out of 2, maybe you hit the wall or you get loose and you spin down out of the corner, and you go down to the apron. The field's so spread apart that maybe nobody's close enough to bring out a caution flag, or maybe you spin so far off the racing surface that iRacing doesn't register a yellow. So it just, I don't know, whenever you get past that first green flag pit stop, I feel like you kind of get stuck in green flag run territory from then on out.
There are 3 more oval races and 3 more road course races left on the season. We'll run to New Hampshire next week, and then the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve 2 weeks for both races. Then a 2-week break for week 13. We'll return at Road America on the 22nd, followed by a race at Fuji over in Japan on October 6th. The last oval race, the last Triple Crown race, will be at the Legacy Phoenix Raceway on October 20th. And then, of course, you got Pole Day, you got Bump Day, and then, of course, the Indy 500 to close out the championship. 3 weeks, 3 events, all at a very familiar Indianapolis Motor Speedway, all throughout the month of November.
Like how they do it exactly 6 months apart from the real life Indy 500. So you get like a double dose. Right, you get the month of May, you get the month of November.
It doesn't
roll off the tongue quite as well. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't definitely doesn't roll off the tongue. Month of Nov.
Month of Nov. Month of Nov. Month of Jun.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know.
I don't know why I'm finding that so funny.
I don't either. We might be going delusional up in the broadcast booth.
We've been in circles at high speeds. It's like we're being hypnotized at this point and thinking anything's funny. Well, pit stops. Where we're looking at for the pit stop windows, about 15 laps away. 46 laps. A few drivers managed to put it up there. Was Russell, Egan, Mustonen, Dance, and Aitken. They're currently turning lap 30.
Can anybody do 46 again? If you do 46 again, I'm starting to lean into, ooh, they might be able to make it.
Well, remember, 2 of those laps were under caution. So that does throw a wrench into the calculations.
That hurts. That hurts. Why'd you have to tell me that?
Henry Bennett has gone down a lap, so I think that effectively eliminates Henry Bennett's chances at going for the Logan Simmons $100 challenge. You don't get lucky dogs to free you up. He's going to have to hope for a caution that he can stay out on to get himself onto the lead lap.
What in the world happened to him?
I think he just lost the draft. I mean, he still lost the draft. He couldn't pick up the draft when the other guys blitzed by him.
He wouldn't be this slow, though. I feel like he's got to have damage. He's got to have damage.
You say slow. He's still going 214 miles an hour. That's about the same pace as Rafael Rodriguez, who's on damage behind him.
He's 6/10 off the race leader. Everybody in the top 10. He is 4/10 off the slowest in the top 10. He's got damage. He's got to have damage.
About to start lap 100. The lap counter will take over to triple digits for the first time tonight, about an hour into this race. And still with a long way to go from the Michigan International Speedway. What so far turned into a bit of a tame fuel strategy race, as a lot of these oval races do have a tendency to. So you see Ethan Hagen thinking about the inside. I don't think he's fully committed, though, to making that pass with the lead yet. He still wants to save a bit of extra fuel.
Oh, Russell might be giving it to him here.
He might not have a choice.
Yeah. And this might be purely a fuel-saving move from Russell. I mean, he's been out front this entire run. He's got to give it a break at some point and start running a little bit slower, saving some gas, tucking in behind Ethan Hagen, and just breathing the throttle.
He absolutely could have gone for the over-under with that momentum he carried there. That, I think, says a lot. The fact that he just jammed the brakes to get in behind Hagen. He is definitely looking to save some fuel so he's not caught out in the strategy late in the game.
I just feel like he still did it too late. He was up front for 34 laps of this stint. 34. You're only going to be back here for 10. I don't know. That's a pretty big ratio. I feel like Ethan Aiken's going to be able to take a good chunk less of gas, if I had to bet, coming down to the pit road, or maybe even extend it an extra lap that Russell couldn't do. So we'll have to wait and see.
It kind of depends on what you're able to do, right? I mean, the Vortex 1-2 that we got in Charlotte, you know, they were talking about how when they were drafting, they were only running at about half throttle the whole time. Even the stint leader was only running at about half throttle. So you can lift out of the gas a good bit and still be saving a lot of fuel when you're in the draft of these cars.
Let's wait and see then. Still probably 8 laps until pit stops, maybe 6 until the very first pit stops, but 8 until we see the leaders here. And I feel like the story now for the leaders is which one of these guys, or can Ethan Aiken stretch it longer than Russell? I feel like having an extra lap in the tank is massive after a pit stop if you can stay connected to that guy you're fighting.
You still have this 4-car train in the back here with Rob Barnicow, Franz Josef Stum, Jan Hoff, and Lucas Laville. The Vortex guys have not been getting too close, though, to Barnicow or Stum up the road. You'd think if they wanted to save fuel and potentially make some ground as a pack, they'd be getting right up there with them, but they've been biding their time, and they've actually been dropping back a little bit since they first caught them.
Could they be saving gas more as well?
Maybe.
Laville made it as far as Aiken and Russell, so maybe Laville's wanting to save a little bit more and give himself an opportunity to make it to the end on one less pit stop. I still feel like he's within fighting distance to make that work.
You could be right. Jan Hoffman is the driver that pitted the soonest, besides Jamie Wilson, in that green flag run. He pitted 1 lap before everybody else by himself. So there is a real possibility that he could be looking to save a bit of extra fuel, given that fact that he could be so heavily offset with that fuel number.
Do you think Aiken pits after Russell or on the same lap?
I think the same lap. They pitted on the same lap last time. I see no reason they wouldn't do it again this time.
I just feel like he can stretch it a lap after because he's been in his draft for 30 laps. And now he's got a lap car in front of him too. He can save a little bit more gas.
Unless he chooses to lap them.
Well, just even running up on them, I'm sure he can save up a little bit. Like right now, I bet he's not running full throttle coming down towards turn 1, obviously through the middle of the corner. And down the back straightaway, I'd be willing to bet he's lifting a little bit more again.
Not quite. He was for a bit, and then he decided to shoot to the inside. That's Robert Groscher going a lap down. So 11 remain on the lead lap, and 15 on the track as a whole. Jamie Wilson, of course, had problems, and Johnny Garrett crashed out. Simmons and Saunders both never started this race. So only 2 retirements, only 1 for an actual crash. Those aren't bad numbers given some of the ovals like Pocono and Gateway having such high attrition rates. Andrew Aiken into pit road. He's the first one to blink.
A little bit more room to maneuver here, I suppose, right? To get out of harm's way. So maybe it leads itself to better opportunities to avoid the wrecks, even though I'm surprised turn 2 hasn't claimed a couple more victims. But like you mentioned, a couple more people coming down pit road. Josef Stum, Barnicow, Aiken all on pit road looking to get service. They only made it 41, 42 laps between the 3 of them. Aiken 41 laps, Josef Stum 42, Barnicow 42. So these guys didn't make it nearly as far on the second stint.
Tires exchanged, fuel full. Both drivers take off down track. Whoa, Hoffman! Kicking the tail end out, nearly took out the pit entry cone.
Oof. That was an aggressive entry, to say the least.
No kidding.
Made it work, though. Made it work. Got it down. Got it loaded up somehow. Hoffman able to get it slowed up just barely. And I think he avoided the exit cone, or the entry cone, so he should have avoided that penalty. Just barely.
And take another look on board with this one as he slammed on the brakes and then right about... Look at how fine the margin is on that.
The leaders are pitting.
Raphael,
Hagen.
ooh.
Russell coming down pit road. A little bit further back, you see him coming down. They got Grosser coming down behind him. So these guys only making it 44 laps on this stint.
Rafael Rodriguez may have had an unsafe pit entry, and now I'm going to eat my words on that as he just took off. Oh, no, he isn't. He did get a penalty. He's still in pit road.
Somebody spun. Somebody spun further back.
That's,
Is that LaVille?
That's Stanley. Marshall Stanley. And he's lost the front nose cone of that car.
He almost took out the cone, ripped it hard left to avoid the cone, and I think he ripped it a little bit too hard left.
You still see that nose cone sitting in the middle of pit entry there. So that's going to be an extended fix for him. And now, I can almost guarantee you he's got a new nose cone on that thing. We're just not seeing it because, as we know, the damage model a little bit bugged with these IRO5s in that it will not show us if they have a replacement nose cone. But, you know, you can watch the speeds, right? If he's turning these corners at 200 miles an hour, he has a new front nose cone on that car. There's no way he doesn't. Lucas LaVille into pit road. Let's take a look at some of the mess that happened down the field, getting down into the lane, including Rafael Rodriguez, who got a one-lap stop and hold for this. Trying to get down into the lane and just drifted into the grass. Didn't really get the best angle there to take a look at that on. And coming into pit row behind was going to be Marshall Stanley the lap after. We'll try to get a better look at that Rodriguez incident, and then we'll look again at what happened to poor Marshall Stanley coming down pit road.
I think iRacing realizes how long Michigan's pit road is, trying to get you on the pit road exit whenever we are looking for the entry. But yeah, we see just a little bit wide there, maybe just trying to avoid wrecking the guy in front. And again, iRacing wants to give us a really long one. And oof.
Clip the grass.
Yep. And that's just not a heavy hit either, but it's going to be enough to need a new nose.
It wasn't even that hard of a hit. It was actually hanging on. Oh, and then he caught the left rear as well. It wasn't even that hard of a hit. I mean, it was just enough to dislodge it, not even like break it off. I don't even think he got wheel damage from that.
Well, those pit stops have allowed Alexander Russell to stretch out a 2-second lead.
Stanley's back into pit road, and I think that might be to serve a penalty of some sort. Take a look at the exit here. I'm curious on if he got a penalty out of pit road here. That or maybe, you know what? Maybe he didn't even realize that it was missing a front nose cone until he actually left pit road. Because it was such a small hit, you wouldn't expect it to just fall off. No penalty, so I think he just realized the damage was there too late.
Huh.
That's a weird one.
Maybe he saw the time on the damage and thought, oh, I probably still have a nose, but he was mistaken.
Maybe he thought the nose wasn't his.
Oh, that nose sitting back there on the entry to pit road, that definitely wasn't mine. Oh, you say I'm the only one who's hit my nose on the wall today? Can't be mine. Can't be mine. It's like that Patrick Starr meme with Man Ray.
Yeah, Johnny Garrett he kind of hit the nose into the wall earlier. It wasn't even close to the same spot. It was literally at the opposite corner of the racetrack, but
I was about to say
it could have gotten there. Could have been dragged around. You never know.
I'm gonna bet no.
It could have been dragged.
Oh, man, these guys are just running qualifying laps out here now.
I've actually seen things get dragged a good distance underneath race cars. We have some cones to keep people from cutting the chicane at my local road course, and one driver slammed over one of the cones, dragged it underneath his car for about 2.5 laps, and eventually got spat out on the other side of the racetrack. Let me tell you, that cone could not stand up on its own anymore.
The cone has been de-spined.
It received a very lovely funeral procession after the race for that one.
Fantastic. I expect nothing less.
It served its duty well. So just shy of the halfway point, Cameron Dance and Thomas Mooston up there, third and fourth. Let's take a run down through the field, shall we? So we got Russell and Agan 1-2. You're watching the battle for third on screen now. Andrew Aiken brings it up in fifth. Randy Shoemaker in sixth. Gerlicka seventh. Rob Barnicow is eighth. He's in a battle with Ian Hoffman for the number 9 spot. And Luke Laville rounding out the top 10.
11th is Franz Josef Stum. Henry Bennett running in the 12th place spot. First car, 1 lap down. Robert Grosser in 13th. Rafael Rodriguez in 14th. Marshall Stanley in 15th. Jamie Wilson 16th. And Johnny Garrett rounds out the 17 car field. Sounders and Simmons did not start back in 18th and 19th.
So racing action continuing on for the Classic IndyCar Series in the Michigan International Speedway. And so little time yet to go when we go racing. When we come back, it'll be past the halfway mark. 120 down and 130 still left to go. We'll return to the moment on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flight TV and to the Buttkicker 500. We are past the halfway mark, less than 125 laps to go. Alexander Russell continuing to lead the way from Ethan Hagen. You've been watching the battle for third for the last little while. And there's just been an exchange in hands with the 10th spot as well, with Franz Josef Stum getting around Luke Slaville to punch his ticket into the top 10.
Bill getting a little tight coming out of turn number 2. Makes the move pretty easy coming down the back straightaway. Tries to make it as difficult as possible coming down to turn 3, but really couldn't do anything about it. But he's looking back down to the inside coming down to 1. Still not able to do anything. Stum able to fend it off. Looking to take out the other teammate of LaVille up in front of him now. Jan Hoffman just a little ways up the road.
While we were under break as well, you saw Cameron Dance catch a very good piece of the wall coming off of turn number 2 about 10 laps ago. Did lose the third place spot to Thomas Mustonen, but the good news, the damage wasn't so severe that he lost a bunch of time. Sure, he lost momentum, but he found his rhythm again after a lap or two, and now he is drafted right back to the back end of Mustonen, so he is still very much in this hunt for the third spot. Now the big question is, how are they doing in relation to the leaders? Because right now, Russell looks like he's been pulling away pretty convincingly ever since.
Yeah, ever since the pit stop, Russell has been just a little bit quicker than everybody. Everybody just kind of in their own little race now. A couple little 2-car packs, maybe a 3-car pack here and there, but even those packs have been slower than Russell up in the race lead all by himself. He had a 2-second lead over Ethan Hagen after the pit stops. That advantage has grown to 4 seconds. I thought Russell was going to be the one at the disadvantage, having to take more fuel in the pit stop, but he proved me wrong. Ended up getting out in front of Hagen with that 2-second gap and has just doubled it up ever since then. And we're 15 to 17 laps away from another round of pit stops, so another couple chances for things to kind of go awry or things to get flipped on their head with the pit stops. But other than that, other than those little nervy moments for Russell, I think that he's kind of the man to beat.
Well, here's the unfortunate thing for Russell, and in fact for Ethan Hagen right now. Because they're out by themselves, they're not saving fuel anymore. They're not able to. Right now, Dance and Mustonen can swap back and forth and save a bit of fuel, but the top 2 can't do that right now. That puts them at a serious disadvantage strategy-wise.
There's going to be a lot of weird strategy plays for random positions here. Like there's little groupings for position, right? Anywhere from second to fourth. I feel like you're kind of thinking, all right, they're probably in a battle for second. For 5th place, you're probably thinking 5th and 6th are going to be dueling it out at some point for 5th. Aitken and Shoemaker relatively similar in lap times. Gerlicka might fall into the grouping ahead with Aitken and Shoemaker, or he might fall in the grouping behind, or he could just find himself in no man's land in 7th until the end of this thing. Varnikow and Hoffman, Stum, LaVille, all those guys, they're all relatively close to each other. I could see all those guys fighting for the 8th place spot. So all those little battle packs are all going to come down to strategy whenever it comes down to it. You know, we've got, 2 more pit stops left? Actually 3, because I don't think we're going to be able to cut out a pit stop. So 3 more pit stops left, one of them being probably a splash and go. It'll add some strategy to the end of this, and we'll probably have we'll probably be the deciding factor on a lot of the finishing order tonight.
You know, we talked a bit about the upcoming schedule for the Classic Indycar Series. Of course, they're running at New Hampshire, and that's actually the only other race they're running in August is going to be at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. 200 laps around the Magic Mile will be taking place 2 weeks from today. If you have missed a good chunk of the early portions of this race's action, well, no fear. ESTV will be rebroadcasting this race on all of the distribution platforms 1 week from today as well, so you can feel more than free to swing on over and rewatch it on ESTV. We are, of course, streaming live to the YouTube and Twitch feeds right now as well as things progress. You talk about some other big events that might be coming up throughout the course of August in general on Greenflight TV. The big ones, of course, you've got the High Tide Racing League finale coming on up on just a week from now, actually. So there's going to be a lot of wild stuff going on then. Of course, you'll have the Beer League continuing on through their season, along with their mid-season rumble on August 21st. I think the big one, the VSCA Sports Car Championship, and one of their, I think the last sprint race, as a matter of fact, at the Virginia International Raceway on August 24th at noon Eastern Time. So there's still a long way to go throughout August on what's been so far the tamest month of the summer for the channel.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a midsummer break. A couple of these leagues here on the weekend opted to give us some off time, and even coming into August, it's relatively spread thin. Kind of surprising, but you know, it gives us a little bit of a break. But luckily, on days like today, we get some action like the second race of the Triple Crown for the Classic IndyCar Series, giving us a little bit of something to do here in the middle of the summer. Got to applaud them for that and give them a big thank you, because other than that, I'd be sitting here, probably just sitting in my bed or playing some college football 25, which is great. So I don't know, maybe I should be cursing their name because they took me away from my PlayStation. I don't know.
Well, why would you be cursing their name? We get to watch motor racing. I can't think of a better way to
college
spend
football
my summer.
25. CFB 25, man. You're Canadian. You don't get it.
No, you're absolutely right. I do not get it. I'm not a football guy. Don't hate on me for that. I'm not a football guy.
I'm not. I'm just saying you don't get it. I'm not hating. I'm just saying you don't get it.
You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. I don't get it.
You said you don't like any stick and ball sports. It's only motorsports. So you know what?
Baseball's pretty good. And I say that because it's the only sport whose rules I can remotely understand.
Yeah, because hit ball, walk to base, hit other guy hit ball, walk to next base. Like it's pretty self-explanatory.
You clearly haven't seen a good triple play take place.
Oh, I have. I played baseball my entire childhood, and it is the most boring sport.
I don't know. I like it. I really like it.
And you're Canadian. You don't even like hockey. That's weird.
Oh boy, Henry Bennett has just thrown in the towel, it looks like, and that's because he found the wall out of turn 4, sliding down, slamming into the inside wall, destroy the left rear suspension, and that will put a very anticlimactic end to the Logan Simmons $100 challenge. Bennett will not be going for the three-peat on the Triple Crown races in 2024.
Just too high out of turn 4. It's a pretty light touch, but it got that car completely sideways and in a collision course with the inside pit wall. Tough break there for Henry Bennett, completely taking him out of the running, but I mean, he was basically out of it already. That thing was pretty hurt.
That's such a tough break. I mean, for a guy like Bennett, right? I mean, it's that is a worse set of circumstances. If he had caught the wall and managed to keep that car a little bit further down the straight, he could have slid through the grass, no problem, could have reset, tried again, but that puts an end to it. That's such an unfortunate ending for his day, and even if he hadn't hit the wall, he's still speeding down pit road, which would have equally ended his day right there. You saw Franz Josef Stum coming down in the pit road, going for another pit stop, so Stum in at lap 147 for a 10-second stop. He's back out onto the racetrack, and now we see Rob Barnicow coming in. Green flag pit stops, about to kick off.
Yeah, probably about 4 laps away from your race leaders coming down pit road. A couple of the guys further in the field deciding to come down already. Maybe a couple of these guys burning a little bit more fuel because everybody's running by themselves, having to use a lot more in the tank. Could play into Cameron Dance, Thomas Mustensen's hand here, with them being the only guys that are really in their own little pack. So maybe those guys have been able to save a little bit more gas than the rest. Maybe they take a little bit shorter pit stop, but Alexander Russell has just been so quick up there in the race lead. I don't know if it matters.
Andrew Aiken, Rob Barnicow both into the lane, and Barnicow on his way out. Andrew Aiken just pulled into his pit stall. Less than 100 laps to go. Aiken out with no problems in the pit stops as he'll work his way back onto the racetrack, and that takes us to the closest pair on the racetrack again in the fight for third. Alexander Russell, a driver that I think could be one to keep an eye on for his first race win here this afternoon. His first race actually came at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway last week, and he finished that race on the podium as well. So it was a very good drive from him, and that was, of course, his series debut as well. Russell went for the podium on his debut run, and now he's had a good shot to go for his first win here. But Austin, of course, with him no longer having any draft and not being able to save, how likely do you think that is? And we appear to have lost Austin Edstrom for just a moment. We'll hopefully get him back shortly. But we do have Michael Licka, Jan Hoff, and Randy Shoemake all coming down into pit road. So Gerlicka going to be out and away. No dramas so far for drivers coming into the lane. There you see your race leader, Alexander Russell, making his way into the pits. And he's going to bring Ethan Agen in just behind. Thomas Mustinen is in. Cameron Dance is in. Expect Lucas LaVille to be in before not too long as well. So the next round of pit stops kicking off with just under 100 laps to go. Russell slides into the box, backs up. That could cost him a second or so on pit road. But Agen does the same. So the top two both having issues getting into their stalls. Russell's away. Agen's away. Here comes third and fourth. Cameron Dance trying to see if he can't go for the overtake to get around Mustinen. Can't get there, though. Mustinen hangs on for net P3. Lucas LaVille still has yet to pit. For right now, net P2.
Apologies there, my microphone died and I could not find my cord to charge it, but we're back. Just as the pit stops seem to be concluding, so that's perfect. Gotta love it. But LaVille finally coming in pit road to actually conclude the green flag pit stops for the front runners. Coming down pit road from what is P2 on the racetrack, gonna fall back to where about he was running, probably about the 10th place position, about back there with Stoom. Interesting to see so many people have issues coming down pit road, overshooting their pit box.
Well, it's concrete pit stalls, right? And I mean, we've talked about this a few times, even in the NASCAR races, especially at tracks like Daytona. That concrete, it's pretty darn slippery. It can be very difficult to slow a car down. You're so used to running on the asphalt that it catches you off guard when you suddenly change surfaces like that. That's why you don't often see them with problems at tracks like Dover that are all concrete.
That's fair. I mean, it's definitely something that just adds, or it's an extra variable that adds to the problem, and it just adds to the difficulty getting down and getting stopped in the box. We've just seen it time and time again so far today, costing a lot of people. Kind of surprised that Russell's able to gain so much time. I know that Agen also drove through his box, but you would think that would negate it. Instead, he picks up another 3 seconds on the pit stop sequence.
You know what else might be a factor in the overshooting? Perspective. These drivers are racing around here, 210 plus miles an hour. You slow down to 55, you're still going a lot faster than you actually realize you are. So it's just an underestimation as to how quick they're actually still going on pit road. I'm willing to bet in Indianapolis, we're going to be seeing a lot of the same.
This is still the only 2-car pack, right? Mustinen and Dance out of any of the main contenders.
Well, there's a couple. You got Rob Barnick and Jan Hoffen that are a lap down. You got Stoom and LaVille that are a lap down. Agen is being caught, though, by these guys. We're about to have a 3-car train here that could be a threat to Russell.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to make it a 3-car pack, but is that going to speed them up at all? Is that going to help them run down Russell? Russell's in a pack now. He's got some lap cars tailing on his draft, probably pushing him along a little bit. I don't know if this is going to help Mustinen and Dance at all. This might just be Russell's race to lose unless we get a yellow.
And this would be the maiden win for Alexander Russell as well, remember. His first race was the one that happened just before the summer break at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the road course race for the Edifice Grand Prix. And here, he's looking to see if he can double up on podiums in just his first 2 starts with this league. I think that could very well cement Russell as a serious title threat if he sticks around for 2025 and beyond.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Anytime that you come out here and kind of get up on the podium the first couple of times you strap into the race car, it kind of puts a target on your back for for the next time around. Maybe you've missed too many races, so you can't really contend for the championship this year. But you show your main pace, and you show that you've got the ability to get it done. It really puts a target on your back going into the next season. Maybe you win a good chunk of the races in the back half of the year this season. It'll really paint you in a bad light going forward. Everybody might be a little afraid of you going into 2025 if you decide to stick around and go for that championship.
Under 100 laps to go. We got well, even less than 90 laps to go, so less than a stint and a half on the day for these drivers. I mean, take a look at the pit strategy. Of course, we had the drivers come down 46 laps in the first, but it's been 44 every lap after for the leaders. I'm still not convinced they're able to make it.
Two more pit stops. There's no way. They would have to pit right now to be able to make it on one more pit stop. So I'm saying there's no way. They're already out there on 8-9 lap old tires, a lot of these guys. No chance that they can save 4 laps per run. So I'm definitely thinking we're going to see a second pit stop. Ends up being just a splash of gas and going. It'll be interesting to see if that throws a wrench in anything. Does anybody get a speeding penalty on that last extra pit stop? Does anybody overshoot the box a little bit? Do they overshoot the entry of pit road? Where's that mistake going to come from? Does it bite Alexander Russell, who's got this huge lead? Does it tag somebody else up on the podium in the top 5, up in the top 10, and really screw up somebody's day?
So far, Alexander Russell has not been caught much by the pack behind. And in fact, the last lap, the lap before this, they gained a 10th and a half on him. Seeing this time by, what's the gap going to be? Oh, they're closing slowly, but not enough to make a significant difference anytime soon.
They're gaining, like a 10th a lap, a little over a 10th a lap. Yeah, it averages out to about a 10th. So I'm thinking if they keep that pace the rest of the race, they will catch him with about 15 laps left. 10 laps left. Probably not realistic, though, to think that they're going to be gaining on him a 10th of a second every single lap. I mean, it's happened again. So it's definitely possible, but man, that's a tall task.
Well, you never know. Pit stops could again be a big factor in about 30 laps or so here.
But he's been better than them at the pit stops consistently by a lot.
Well, who knows? Still a lot yet to be decided in this race, even if it looks like it's all wrapped up early on here. Turn to lap 166. Did they gain anything else? No, they did. Yeah, still averaging just under a 10th a lap. That would mean they're catching them just shy of when you need to be making a splash and go. If they run this out 44 laps even on every stint to the end, they'd be running out of fuel with the 8 laps left to go still.
Yeah, so they would be catching him and then having to pit a couple laps after if it continues this pace. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. They're continuing to run them down. Man, it'll be tough. Still 72 to go? Sorry, 82 to go. 83.
So here's that 3-car battle for position. You've got 2 of the iconic motorsports drivers linked up and working together. And I think that might be what's really pulling this train along is, right, those are 2 teammates. They are talking to each other. They are able to coordinate with one another to make sure that they can get the absolute most out of this draft. And Cameron Dance is just trying to follow along and groove behind.
They are just barely gaining now, though. Like, it's not even a 10th. And if they're not gaining a 10th, it's not going to be enough. If you're consistently gaining half of a 10th, you are not going to catch up to Alexander Russell by the end of this race. I don't know where they're going to find that little bit of extra time, but they've got to figure something out. I mean, they're running as tight together as they possibly could. Russell's got basically no help. Arnical's just barely tugging on to his draft from behind, not really offering him any support. And Russell's got nobody in front. That lap, again, less than a tenth that they're gaining on Russell. So it's just not enough.
It's not the only 2 or 3 car train we've got. You've also got further back Randy Shoemaker and Andrew Aitken that are right now side by side. Well, not side by side, nose to tail. You've also got Franz Josef Stu and Lucas Laville that are duking it out. They're a lap down. And in fact, these are the last 2 cars running on the racetrack, save for drivers like Robert Groscher and Rafael Rodriguez, who are way off the pack. So there are still some battles yet to be decided. Right here, though, this is one of the big battles because this is the last 2-car train that's actually on the lead lap. Right now, Mike Gerlicka behind is not on the lead lap. I think it's only a matter of time before everyone loses the lead lap pack. Although he is with a lap car, so that might be helping him out here.
It helps them, but they're only 3 seconds ahead. Yeah, they're only 3 seconds ahead. That's a little much. Maybe he'll race our race leader a little harder, trying to stay on that lead lap, knowing he's up in that 7th place position, knowing that if that yellow flag comes out, he's got an opportunity in this race. But I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. 3 seconds is still the gap between the two, so it's not like the race leader's gaining on them by any insurmountable margin or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like Gerlicka might put up more of a challenge than some of these other lappers have done so far tonight. How about Shoemaker's recovery, too? We talked about him on that restart really getting the field separated. He's recovered up the 5th. I mean, he didn't have that problem. He very well could have been in the main pack.
You're not wrong. I mean, Randy Shoemaker is one of those drivers where you have to wonder if he was able to get into first gear confidently on that restart, but we're talking 150 laps ago now. How different would this field look? Because a lot of what's happened now and how this field is separated was directly based around Randy Shoemaker starting that restart in 2nd and not in 1st, including Andrew Aitken, one of the big hitters, being forced to drop back like this. Because Aitken was into the top 5 before.
It's a big-time butterfly effect that has completely shaped the rest of this race. And somehow, I figured he'd be dead in the water, right? And would eventually go backwards after that mistake. But instead, he's picked his way back through the field, up to the 5th place position. Like you mentioned, Aitken up here just right behind him in 6th. How would this race have gone if they were, tucked up there with the front runners? Would Shoemaker have been able to challenge any of those guys up in the top 3? We'll never really get to find out unless we, have another yellow in this thing. But those top 3, or at least 2nd through 4th, they are starting to run down our race leader a little bit again. About a 1/10 of a second last time for Aitken, but 75 laps to go and they're 7 seconds back. It's going to have to be a 10th every single lap from here on out.
It's a big task, though not an impossible one. The gap under 7 seconds now. Really the first time all race long. 800ths gain that time by. May as well be 9 with the extra 8 tagged on to the end of that one. It's not over. I mean, and again, pit stops 20 laps away. It could easily be a huge, huge shakeup in how this race pans out if Russell makes a big mistake. Because that's the big thing, right? Yes, Aitken made the mistake of overshooting this box. But Russell did the same thing. That's why the gap isn't more.
Which is why we believe that there could be another mistake out of Russell. All it takes is one slide. One slide in this thing gives up 3 seconds down the straightaway, if not more, and also puts your tires in a really, really bad situation to where you've got to spend a couple corners getting them back under you. So one issue from Russell, whether it's that or coming down pit road on either of the next 2 pit stops, it could open the door for Aitken and these guys behind who still, they're clawing into that deficit ever so slightly. It's down, they're cutting in another 10th into it this lap.
The Iconic Motorsports duo is really flying right now. They have found their rhythm, and they have come ready to party at the Michigan International Speedway. Then Mooston, of course, started to actually lose touch to these 2 drivers deeper in the pack. So we could be seeing a 2-horse breakaway as they try to run down Russell up the road, but Cameron Dance just seeing if he can't follow behind. I think Cameron Dance is making a conscious decision, though, not to get too close, to recognize that his extra airflow could easily slow them down if he doesn't get into the exact place where he's needed.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to burn up your stuff being right tucked up behind them. Maybe you end up falling off their back end because you've just been stuck in the dirty air the whole time, or maybe he's just not able to get quite closed up to the back bumper of them. Maybe you just can't quite carry the same speed that they're carrying up there. He's getting a double dose of dirty air. It's a little bit harder for him to burn through the center of the corner. So just do what you can do. Stay in the draft. Don't lose touch with them and let them carry you up to the race leader because they are faster than him lap after lap. It's going to be over a 1/10 of a second this time again.
Taking a look at those deltas one more time.
Almost.
10th and a half on lap 177, and then about, well, 900ths on 178, 8 on 179. But that gap, here's the critical thing. It's not closing quickly, but it is closing consistently. That alone could prove that Russell's under threat. And you have to imagine that Alexander Russell, he's keeping tabs on that delta time after time again. Oh, no! What in the world? Ethan Hagen thought for a moment he hit the wall or something, but I think he blanked out because that damage model went absolutely hog wild.
That scared me big time. That's not the first time it's done it to us, man. These Indy cars, whenever they lag out,
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
They come back in a oh my word! I don't think I've ever seen one of these things look quite like that.
I have.
The last one that did it at Pocono.
Yeah, no, iRacing's damage test video.
oh, fair enough. It hurt them on this lap. I think it may have hurt their speed a little bit. They were not able to gain anything. Actually lost just a little bit.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, they lost the draft that Ethan Hagen was providing for a moment there with that. Not to mention, Mustonen had to swing wide in order to avoid an erratic Hagen in case he popped back in.
And they're just now recovering the momentum, starting to bring it back to where they're cutting into the lead, and it's starting to grow a little bit. It was about 6.53, grew to 6.58 because of that. Now it's starting to come back down into the 6.4s, but that's valuable time that it's costing them, that they're having to regroup. Able to cut a 10th into it there, but they're going to have to get a little bit quicker. And again, those pit stops are going to be coming up soon too. They're about 15 laps away. How aggressive do you get on the pit cycle? Oh! Who was that stopped on the outer groove?
That could be big trouble. That's Jan Hoffman. Hoffman, one of the Vortex drivers that crashed out of the Charlotte race down into the infield. No caution because he got off the racetrack. But that's another one down and out of this fight. Was that the driver that was behind Alexander Russell? It was not. I think it was one of them, though, because he was with two, wasn't he?
No.
Am I just completely wrong?
There was only one behind him.
I'm completely wrong. All right, well, Jan Hoffman going into the wall and having a hard time tracking down where this happened at. Will have to jump back the hard way. He just overshot turn one. I mean, look, right there. I mean, that car just went straight on. Is that a wheel failure, maybe?
Yes, 100%. Gotta be. Gotta be.
And then he gassed it up to get it down to the inside, which was a very wise move.
That was a veteran move to get that out of the way. I don't know how he did that.
Yeah, that wheel is showing no movement at all right now. And all of a sudden, it just straightens up and then nothing.
I don't know if it was a wheel failure or if he literally just... Yeah, it's definitely a wheel failure. It's still straight. Yeah, he's doing everything with the throttle. Okay. Yeah, good job by him getting off the racetrack because that was a very precarious situation. Looked like it probably should have brought out a yellow instead. We're able to keep it green. I'm kind of shocked.
Well, he kept the speed up. That's all he did.
With him sliding across the racetrack, 90-degree angle coming down, and there's 3 cars coming up behind him, though, I'm kind of surprised.
He wasn't at a 90-degree angle. He wasn't far enough sideways. And remember, these legacy tracks can be a little bit finicky with that as well.
Coming off of 2, though, he was just about 90 degrees sideways. He pulled that thing straight left.
Tenth and a half on 185, another 10th and a quarter on 186. They have found that momentum in that second pack. Russell is under threat now.
Yeah, that's what they need. That's the kind of times that they need.
Boy, I love it when the race picks up long-term like this. Robert Grosser is into pit road for his 5th stop of the night, I want to say.
So he's splitting the final stage into smaller stints and going to take tires both times. A little weird.
You know, I kind of agree with that, though. I mean, I wouldn't want to pit with less than 10 laps to go, because that means if I make a mistake, I have absolutely no time to recover from it. If you pit earlier, you have more time to build up some momentum and try to fight back if you make an error somewhere. We saw them doing that at Charlotte as well.
So much time. You're wasting so much time because you've got to take tires, right? I mean, the other guys aren't going to have to take tires, just splash of gas. Unless, I mean, how quick is the tire change? Is it so quick that you can take 2 seconds of gas? I mean,
yeah, well, by the time you get the tires on and off, you can easily still be sitting in the pits for another 3-4 seconds, just waiting for fuel alone.
Then I don't know. I don't like. I think normally you would do that, but in a race like this where it's so spread out, I would rather just run it down and take as little fuel as possible at the very end.
Gerlicka, the next one to pit. Less than the 40 lap mark for Gerlicka, so he's another one that's trying to see if he can split this into smaller stages. 60 laps to go with the line. The gap at about 6 seconds for the lead.
Still coming down. Well, this last lap it actually grew ever so slightly, but Egan has clawed it back this time. A little bit better than a 10th coming out of turn number 4, it looks like. For that second pack, and those pit stops are coming up. We're starting to see people splitting it. So what do 2nd, 3rd, and 4th do as we see Stoom come down pit road?
And the 34 Aero X entry is into pit road. You see a lot of wounded race cars still in the pits as well from earlier escapades. This battle for the lead man is so on. And I love what Dance is doing here. Cameron Dance absolutely could be going up there and fighting with 3rd and 2nd here, but he's not, because he can see what they're doing. He knows they're taking chunks out of the lead, and he knows that if he makes even one look to the inside to try to go for a pass, that could effectively kill the rest of the race for him.
Yeah, you just got to stay in line. Make sure you just stay in the draft, push the guy in front of you, just try to propel him forward every little bit you can. The last couple laps have not been great for him, but just keep yourself in the fight. You never know when that 23 is going to make a mistake. It could be on one of the pit stop cycles, could be out on the racetrack. Just give yourself an opportunity. You see him getting bigger up in your windshield. It's slight, but it is noticeable. They've clawed in a 2.5 seconds. Just got to keep at it. Keep clawing in.
So far, 6 cars are on the lead lap. Russell, Egan, Mustonen, Dance, Shoemake, and Aitken. And oh boy, Alexander Russell just lost his drafting partner as Rob Barnicow comes down to pit road. Now we're going to really see that gap start to tumble.
How much does it matter? How much did it matter that he was tugging along in the draft, maybe giving him just a little bit of an aero push? Was it doing anything? Was it helping our race leader? Through 1 and 2, not seeing too much of a difference, but it's down those straightaways where it really, really matters. Does that time come down? Did Russell get a push down the back straightaway? You're looking at it, it is coming down into turn number 3. They pick up just a little over half a tenth just down the back straightaway.
About a tenth the last 2 laps, and then for this past one, for the last 3, what's the difference? About another 10.5. So not a huge difference, but I think now that we're on the first full lap with Russell not having a drafting partner, and now that he's officially lost a lot of that draft momentum, we'll really start to see if that made that much of a difference.
Seems like 3 and 4 is the one that kind of matters the most. I typically see the gap climb down through 3 and 4 a little bit more down, more than 1 and 2. I think it's just the momentum from the back straightaway. They didn't continue it as much through turn 4.
Really?
Less than a tenth.
That actually surprised me. I would have thought that Russ was getting a lot bigger help from Rob Barnikel than he was apparently.
Nope, I guess not.
Maybe he wasn't close enough, because that is the thing. While Rob Barnikel was there, he was hovering about 0.2 of a second off of him, kind of like how Cameron Dance is doing right now. He wasn't exactly gearbox to nose wing like we're seeing the iconic Motorsports 2-3 right now.
Yeah, there wasn't much of an air bubble there. Now, this lap, it's about a 1/10 and a half again. So it just kind of, it ebbs and flows a little bit, probably just depending on how good of a lap Egan and Mustonen run. I think there's probably a cap at how well Russell can run now, especially now that he's got no help. But it all comes down to just how cleanly Egan and Mustonen get around these corners.
And again, pit stops could very easily be the decider, because this will be the last full pit stop these drivers are going to be making so far all race long.
It's another 1/10 and a half here.
And we're at lap 44, so I'm expecting them all to come down either this lap or the next.
Yeah, 100%. Can Egan and Mustonen push it a little bit longer, keep their draft going? I think it's beneficial for them to make it go as long as possible, but I think they're going to be coming down pit road this time. What does Russell do? Does he come down this time? Does he come, or does he give it another lap?
He's coming.
Looks like he's staying on the racetrack as long as possible, then coming down, straight entry down into pit road. Second, third actually stay out.
Oh boy. No, they don't. Egan's coming in.
Oh, they split up. I can't not believe that they split up. Egan, extremely aggressive down on the brakes. I did not think that they would split up coming to pit road.
Well, Mustonen saved a lot of that fuel. He can go the distance, and we've just seen you can still turn some pretty impressive laps by yourself. Alexander Russell, no mistakes this time into pit road. What about Ethan Egan? Same deal. They're both golden on the entry.
It was a really good slide into the box from Egan. Russell was a little bit more hesitant, not really pushing it as hard. Does Egan get out? Good dance. Actually did a little bit better on exit. Might be able to get to the outside of Egan. He gives way.
Good call. Good call. You want to get a guy that you know is good leading the pack in front of you, so that way you can go at him and try to see if you can run down Russell. Mustonen now into pit road.
Egan's lost 3 seconds to Russell. What is Russell doing on pit entry that Egan is not? Because Russell down pit road. Russell down pit road is way quicker than these guys.
Oh, he took less fuel is what he did.
Well, he's done it time and time again. Every time down pit road, he's been 2 to 3 seconds faster.
And I'm telling you, this time around, that is all on fuel. He is trying to, he knows he has to pit again, so he's getting less fuel in that car, so he can ensure that it's going to be less of a hazard for him at the end. Mustonen, though, has lost his teammate in the draft.
What is time on in the pit box? Do they have that listed, or do you have that listed in front of you?
Consistently for all the pit stops, I do. Give me 1 second here.
I need to hear Russell's and Egan's on this last one.
Egan, 1083, Russell, 878 from pit stop entry, from when they stopped to when they started moving again in pit road.
So he took 2 seconds less of gas than Egan.
Yes.
But does that mean that he has to put in 2 seconds more on the next pit stop? Like, did he short fuel it this time so that he doesn't have to short fuel it next?
I believe he did. Tried to see if he could get the distance because he knew they were closing. Now they're broken up as well. That could work. You can see, though, I mean, look at the bottom right. I mean, it's been fluctuating all race long. I mean, the first green flag stop, Russell was actually a second longer than Egan, and then about dead on even with them the 2 stops after. This is the first one he's actually had such a massive 2-second gap from them. All of that time elsewhere has been made up on pit road itself.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, Russell, through pit sequences, every single time has gained at a minimum of 2 seconds on everybody he's racing. The first pit stop, he came in nose-to-nose with Egan, and he, on the other side of the pit stops, was 2 seconds ahead. I believe on the second one, he gained 3 seconds. The third one, he gained 3 seconds. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't know where he's gaining it, whether it's consistent in the box every single time or whether it's pit entry, some of these, but he's been much better on pit road than the rest of the field.
A lot of it has to do with how aggressive you are in pit entry and pit exit. Because you can see, even in the pit lane times, I mean, there's not too much of a difference. I mean, yeah, 2 seconds just about on 2 stints ago, but only 1 second the stint before that. And he was actually, again, slower on the very first green flag stint. I think he's just a lot more aggressive getting in and out of pit road than these other drivers, and that's where he's getting all this time from.
It's got to be. It's got to be that pit entry. And he had a very straight pit entry coming out of turn number 4. We saw him stay on the racetrack as long as possible. Maybe Egan's letting that car drift down to the bottom of the racetrack, giving up a good chunk of time, making sure that he has a good safe pit entry down to the bottom of the racetrack. And it's just letting Russell get away. Regardless, whatever it is, it's let Russell build out just about a 10-second lead, and he is looking to win this thing.
An absolutely stellar run from Alexander Russell. And again, like you said, could very well be the race winner here this afternoon. Right now, we've got 46 laps left to go. So we're going to take ourselves with another step back. When we return, it is more racing action on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flight TV, where Alexander Russell continuing to pull away after an absolutely beautiful pit stop that saw him cut another 2 seconds into the lead. Ethan Hagen, Cameron Dance still running nose to tail, but just not having the same effect as when Thomas Boussaint was up with this duo.
Yeah, they're not able to find the same amount of speed, actually losing a little bit of time lap over lap to Alexander Russell up in the race lead all by himself. I really thought the draft would play more of an effect. Would two guys would be able to push themselves up and make up a decent bit of ground here, but proven to be a little bit more difficult. Maybe the dirty air just really pushing the nose of the car behind, not allowing them to get up to the rear gearbox of the car in front down these long straightaways and give them a good push. And Russell's been able to take advantage of the clean air instead and keep that number 23 out front and extend that gap up to 10 seconds.
You can see Randy Shoemaker and Andrew Aitken currently running nose to tail as they try to get themselves sorted in the closing stages of this race. Only one pit stop stint left to go for everybody in this field. So far, the only driver that has pitted past the lap 200 mark has been Lucas Laville, stopped exactly on 200. Everybody else a couple laps shy of it. Still 6 cars remain on the lead lap right now. These two, the last pair that are out there, trying to see if they can't hang on to that lead lap from Russell behind.
Yeah, they've got a decent gap to them, and they've got 2 cars in between. They've got Franz Josef Stum and Rafael Rodriguez running in 10th and 12th, multiple laps down. That Russell has to go through first, and they've also got 5 seconds on Russell. So over 32 laps, I would think that they'd be safe, but there is a pit stop in there as well. And we know how fast Russell has been over the pit sequences, so he could cut into that gap, could overtake these guys over the pit sequence. And he's been a little bit quicker than them on the racetrack as well, lap over lap. So it'll be interesting to see if they can stay on that lead lap. I'm leaning towards the yes. It's also interesting to see later on in this thing, they're going to end up fighting for that position. 5th place, it's going to end up being pretty contentious. When does Aitken pull out and say, well, screw the working together, I'm going to go for the spot?
I was actually about to ask you for the same question as well for Ethan Hagen and Cameron Dance up the road. I mean, it's a very similar story, right? I mean, how long do they go before they start to actually battle with each other? I think you wait until after the final set of pit stops and see where you're at. Because we know that Alexander Russell pitted about, for 2 seconds less for fuel. That's a lot of fuel he's going to have to put into the car on the next run of pit stops here to make it to the end of this race. I have a feeling like we're going to be seeing Hagen and Dance waiting to see where they're at after that pit stop, and then they'll make that decision. Do we want to battle for second or see what we can do here?
I'd have to agree with you. Just wait it out. We'll let the strategy play out, because you never know if Russell would make a mistake. Maybe he brings himself back into the fray, and you would rather work together to work your way past him. But we'll have to wait and see. Those pit stops could come at any time, right? We've been 23 laps since the last pit sequence, and we think Russell might have short fueled already on this go around. So he'll have to take a little bit more gas. Still a couple things that we've got left to sort out here. 28 laps to go. Russell just now taking 28 laps to go. So still one more pit stop, a little bit more to sort out.
You see the top two breaking around the outside of Robert Groscher. Groscher, of course, one of those drivers that just pitted now, so he is already doing a good job making himself with some good momentum down on the inside line, but of course on his own right now, out of pit road. Kind of weaving around a little bit on the back straightaway though. Might be trying to, what do you think, get some heat in those tires, or just not totally confident being in the draft yet?
I mean, if you're not comfortable being in the draft yet by lap 223, you probably shouldn't be out here.
Well, he hasn't been in the draft for much of this race. We're kind of in no man's
Okay,
land.
well, that's fair. That's fair. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I don't know. It's tough. You're coming down to the end of this thing. You're probably just a little bit tired as well, to be honest with you. You've been out here for the last, let's see, 2 hours and 20 minutes nonstop, just about green flag from the drop of the hat of this one. Only one yellow. Physical exertion comes in at some point. I can tell you that, especially if you've got that the physicality turned up a little bit too high in your steering wheel. You might be a little tired by this point of the race.
We haven't really talked about that a lot either, right? I mean, these cars, they don't have power steering to them, and of course, the wheels and force feedback, they will represent that to some degree if you have it set that way. Not to mention many of these drivers using butt kickers. That only adds to the experience on a very bumpy racetrack. So it is a really fatiguing race to be having to work yourself with. And even on the Grand Prix races, people have been saying about how tired they are after the fact.
And those are shorter races. This is a whole 500 miles. Now, that's a road course. But around this big racetrack doing 500 corners, it's a lot, man. I can tell you right now. I've got my power on my wheel turned up a little bit higher to where I can actually feel it. And if I was in here for 250 laps in an old school Indycar, my arms would be burning at the end of this thing, especially without any brakes. They've been going out without any brakes this entire time. I mean, you get 10 seconds of a break every 44 laps. I mean, that's nothing, man. These guys are definitely nearing their limits.
Less than 25 laps to go. Once again, if you're looking for more action, look no further than Monday night, where the High Tide Racing League MF Racing Designs Cup Series will swing out to the Darlington Raceway for round number 21 at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. The MSRL Cup Series will be out at Sonoma on August 6th, with the Beer League down to the road in Atlanta on August 7th. Franz Josef Stoon was in the pit road. In the middle of all of that, we'll of course be doing the tape delay broadcast of the ASRL Next Gen Cup Series race from the Mobility Resort Motegi. Josh Baird and I will bring you that race at some point, either on Tuesday or on Wednesday, depending on how schedules fall. But for now,
Leaders on pit road.
Alexander Russell into pit road.
And this is a little early. He's only ran 30 laps, so I think that this confirms that he took a little bit less gas. On that last pit stop, shortening up the stint, getting past just now, like Egan and Dance going on by. Coming down and take his final pit stop. Going to be in the box. Still not for too long because there's only 22 laps left. Only has to take half a tank of fuel. Going to take tires anyway. And then we'll see him on off and away in a couple moments.
So another 8-second stop in the box with fresh tires on it. That has dropped him all the way down to 6th. Man, this race is getting so complex, and I am so excited to see if Alexander Russell will make the genius pick call here to take his maiden win, or if this could be what puts the nail in the coffin for him.
I think that pretty much solidifies his win here. I don't think that Egan and Dance are going to have any shorter of a pit stop, maybe 7 seconds, 6.5. But it's ultimately not going to be enough. I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything on Russell. Russell was pretty clean coming down pit road. Didn't see him make any glaring mistakes. I'd be willing to bet Alexander Russell is going to be coming through with 20 laps to go to probably win this thing, unless that yellow flag comes out to throw a wrench in it.
Still always a possibility as well. I mean, we've seen in this series before, even on Race Spot TV, where this series used to have its home, we have seen a lot of drivers having that misfortune to get themselves in with some pretty serious cautions at some rather inopportune moments. I'll never forget that one Indy 500 where yellow came out less than 10 laps from the end and caused a different winner from a guy that had been leading by about 12 seconds beforehand. That was way back, I think 2019, 2021, one of those two, I want to say.
That hurts, man. I'm telling you. I've had a couple of those, and it is not fun.
I mean, heck, you and I have seen a lot of them just on Green Flag TV in, what, the year and a half we've been doing full-on league broadcasting like this. It happens.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, it happens. It's unfortunate. But boy, does it ever happen. So Ethan Hagen and Cameron Dance currently running in the top two with Robert Grosser just behind. Less than 20 laps to go. The big question, when will they come down pit road next? And for how long? And when does Dance want to start gunning it for second? Right now, Russell, 21 seconds behind. Now that is enough that he will be able to get back into the race lead by the time Hagen and Dance get off of pit road.
Oh, yeah.
Right now,
Shouldn't
the big
be
question, though, is by how much will the gap be?
Probably, I'd be willing to bet it's going to be about the exact same as whenever Russell came down pit road. Probably about 10 seconds. I think this is probably the one pit stop where he had to take just a little bit more than the other guys are going to have to take, but everybody else is going to have to take tires as well, or probably will take tires. So I think he's probably going to have that 10-second gap replenished.
$15 to go at the stripe. Only one caution so far, and it came way back on lap 19 of this race when Johnny Garrett caught, I think it was Rafael Rodriguez, and went up and into the wall. Other than that, the only two drivers that have actually crashed out have been Marshall Stanley on pit road and Jan Hoffman at the same place as Garrett earlier on, but neither of those forced a yellow.
Yeah, there has not been too much. A lot of the field has gotten spread out, and it hasn't.
I'm mistaken. Henry Bennett as well included in that mess.
Oh, yes. Most of the field's gotten spread out, though, and there hasn't been a lot of, solo incidents throughout the field tonight. So mostly clean and green, not having too many points of contention. I really thought turn 2 was going to be a problem spot, but without the contentious restarts and having everybody packed up under each other, it's been relatively straightforward.
I think as well the fact that we're on a bigger racetrack, so that banking transition from banking to flat hasn't been nearly as aggressive as tracks, like Charlotte, like Gateway, like Pocono. Makes it a lot easier for these Indycars to just give it the beans around here.
Yeah, I mean, you're just about flat-footed. It's whenever you're lifting around Michigan in an IndyCar. Now these older ones, it's a little bit more difficult. They don't have quite the downforces that newer ones, but it's still not the most difficult car to get around a 2-mile banked racetrack.
I just checked into the paddock, and I have some insights as to Henry Bennett's problems and why he lost so much time in the race.
Do tell.
I quote, "Today I learned just adding fuel to a qualifying setup does not make a good race setup."
And there's somebody spun around on pit road.
That is Barnicow, question mark?
But yeah, that makes sense. I think that a qualifying setup, at least from what I know from the NASCAR stuff, would burn your tires a little bit more. Typically your cambers are maxed out pretty heavy. So I imagine an IndyCar would be relatively similar. So I imagine his long run pace was not too good. Not too good, pretty tight.
So Barnicow was in just for a regularly scheduled pit stop. Was 7 seconds in the box. And whoopsie daisy. Just getting a little throttle happy on exit. Shoemaker and Aiken leaving pit road.
Everybody finishing up their last round of pit stops. They are getting to the end of their fuel window, maybe hoping to catch a caution, get something, get some luck go their way. Unfortunately, not going to happen. So they're going to go back a lap down or close to it. Hagen and Dance still out on the racetrack. Mustinen out there with them as well. Again, maybe hoping that yellow flag flies and they just come down pit road and can start right behind Russell, who stays out, or maybe Russell comes down pit road to get new tires as well. I don't know. There could be a little bit of strategy in play if this thing runs green to the end, but I don't think these guys can make it another maybe 2 laps.
So 9 laps to go, and Ethan Hagen showing no signs of pitting yet, but we were anticipating he'd be having to pit around 8 to go, so he is running that tank out dry. I think he's been hoping for a yellow flag to come out this entire time so he could come down and not be so far behind Russell when he leaves pit road. That caution, though, never materialized, and now he's going to be forced to pit with under 10 to go and no time to make up any kind of momentum.
Yeah, there's just not enough time left. 9 laps to go in the race. The leader's coming down to turn number 1. If you're coming down this late, you're really just hoping for the strategy to fall your way, the yellow flag to fly to help you out a little bit. But unfortunately for these guys, it just has not come to fruition. That yellow flag has not come out to help them out. And unfortunately, they're going to have to give away the race lead and probably just settle for that 2nd or 3rd place position. I'm looking at, obviously Ethan Hagen coming down pit road, Cameron Dance, Mustinen, just going to how well they are on pit road is going to determine whether they come down and finish on the podium or not.
So Hagen in and out. Only 4 seconds in the box, 4.8 to be exact. Cameron Dance and Thomas Mustinen in as well, so 1st and 2nd are both in. That will give the race lead back to Alexander Russell. Hagen about 14, 15 seconds behind Russell from the looks of things here. But we'll see once again when they come out of pit road, and yeah, about 14 seconds there. So unfortunately was not able to gain much, even though he took 4 less seconds of fuel in the pits and no tires for any driver.
It's just how good Russell's been all night, man. I mean, he has been absolutely fantastic, flawless, hasn't made a mistake, hasn't put a wheel wrong all night long. And again, even whenever you think that somebody's going to gain on them in the pit sequence, or at least, hold them even because they're taking less.
Ethan Hagen getting around Mustinen, who's just lost it on the back straightaway.
What?
Down off of pit road. He was in the grass when we cut to him. Then we come back, and then he's losing it off of turn number 2 there. What in the world happened to Mustinen? We'll take a ride on board. Just trying to get up through the gears. And a bit too aggressive with the throttle, clipped the grass, and then he just never let that car get settled.
Man, and it's finally settled there, but he's got grass on the tires and probably is a little frustrated, so hits the gas a little bit too hard, and that thing came around on him quick.
So Shoemake and Aitken now running 4th and 5th. They are the only battle that is left on the racetrack that's within a half second of each other. Only 5 laps to go. At this point, I think, go for it. Go for the battle. So your next driver, 18 seconds up the road. You're not making that up in 4 laps.
This is it. There's no green, white checkered, so the yellow flag flies, and we're just going to be done. So you might as well make your move now, right? Go for it. You got nothing to lose. Take every spot you can. There's not too many potential changes for position, but Shoemake and Aitken looking to make it interesting for 4th. That's right in front of your race leader, too. I mean, that's a sketchy moment there.
Oh, yeah.
If you're Russell, do you just back out, let Mustinen by you and let them all fight it out for the spot and just get out of Dodge? You got a 14-second lead. Just give it to them.
Driving it in deep into turn numbers 3 and 4. Randy Shoemake out in front, still trying to see if he can hang on with Alexander Russell right behind. Technically, this battle here still on 4 to go with Russell on 3 to go right behind them. Tell you what, Alexander Russell with the front row seat of a 3-horse race for the first spot outside of the podium.
Smart move from him to, or for him to get out of the way. No reason to risk your own race. Let them wreck and just get out of Dodge if something happens. 2 laps to go for you. Don't make anything crazy happen. Stay far enough back that if anything does happen, you can get out of Dodge real quick. 13 seconds between him and second place. You got plenty of time in case something happens. Andrew Aiken looking to take that 4th place spot. Looking to the inside of Shoemake for it. Looking to take it as Mustinen's looking to make up for lost time, trying to get around the outside.
Mustinen around the top, picks up the draft of Andrew Aitken. White flag in the air. Russell just behind, takes the white flag with 1 lap to go. This battle for 4th is on, though. Andrew Aitken trying to go and hang on for that 4th place spot. Could be big points for him. Mustinen looking to get around. He'll break into the top 5. Randy Shoemake can't do anything with it. Now Mustinen to the outside, looking for 4th as they drive around through turn numbers 3 and 4. Just behind them, though, Alexander Russell looking to take in just his 2nd ever start with the Classic Indycar Series, his maiden win. He wins it in the Triple Crown race at Michigan.
What a race from Russell. He's done it. They're still fighting in front of him for that 4th place position as Dance and Aiken are going to come through to finish 2nd and 3rd. Still racing hard. Aiken sliding across the nose. They're coming down the back straightaway for 4th. Mustinen's looking for it down into turn number 3. He wants the spot. Aiken's trying to take it back.
Down in the turn numbers 3 and 4. Only one more chance for Aiken, trying to get a run off the final corner to the line. He's not going to get there. Mustinen hangs on for number 4 at the stripe.
Great job from Thomas to be able to get back up to 4th after his mistake. Aiken hangs on for 5th, Shoemake 6th, but Alexander Russell is going to be the winner tonight, and what a race it was from Michigan. What a job, Alexander Russell.
His first ever start with the Classic IndyCar Series was at the Edifice Grand Prix just before the summer break. He took a podium there after starting 4th. Here, he started 2nd and takes his maiden win. What a drive for Russell. At the end of the day, that was absolutely phenomenal, and he is going to be able to be a proud, proud man after that one. That was a heck of a drive, and what a call on the strategy. So he's going to do himself with a little bit of a quick burnout here on this one, and he's going to take, of course, that Polish victory lap around the racetrack. So let's take a rundown of what your official race results look like after a wild one from the Michigan International Speedway. Taking home the checkered flag at the end of the day, it is Alexander Russell by a considerable margin, 12.7 seconds over Cameron Dance. Ethan Aiken brings it home in 3rd, with Mustinen just hanging on for 4th, making a 2-for-2 pass on Andrew Aiken and Randy Shoemake. They'll finish 5th and 6th as the last car is on the lead lap. From there, Mike Gerlitka finishes 1 lap down. Luke Slaville, Rob Barnicow, and Franz Josef Stum round out the top 10. Robert Grosser, Rafael Rodriguez, the last cars on the racetrack, with there going down to Jan Hoffman, Henry Bennett, Marshall Stanley, Jamie Wilson, and Johnny Garrett not finishing this race, with Andrew Adair Saunders and Logan Simmons not making it to the green flag. So a wild one here this afternoon. We're going to take a step back. When we return, we'll be back with your podium finishers here on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV, where we have got ourselves with the first bunch ready to give us a chit-chat here after this race, and we'll be looking to swing on down and get a word in here with some of your podium finishers here at the end of what ended up being a very wild night of racing. And of course, we'll be looking to start it off down at the tail end of the podium here. Well, actually, you know what? We got the race winner that just popped in, so we'll get a chance to talk to your race winner, Alexander Russell, the first one to hop on over. And in just your second start, Alexander, you walk away with the race win at the end of the night. An absolutely commanding drive this afternoon. Talk us through the strategy game that leaves you standing on top.
Oh my gosh. The car was perfect. I got out front and I didn't look back. There was the early caution in the beginning, and I kind of looked at fuel number. It was close, like really close on cutting out a pit stop. But I just decided to go for it, and oh my gosh, this car was on rails. It just took off. It just went and went and went so fast. Oh my gosh.
Championship-wise, obviously, unfortunately, with you coming in a little bit late, not looking like a championship was going to be on the cards, but talk us through the goals so far for the rest of this season, and will we be seeing you back to fight for a title in 25?
Goals for the rest of the season, I guess, is Indy. Like, what other race could you win? Like, I know I'm basically out of the championship, so just have fun, show up, try and learn some things about the car. Hopefully go get a 500.
All right, well, we'll get the chance to hopefully talk to you more before this season is out. That's 2 for 2 on podium finishes and race starts. What a debut you're having in the Classic IndyCar Series. We'll see you in 2 weeks when we go racing at New Hampshire.
Thank you.
Alexander Russell comes home, taking the race win at the end of the night. We'll move on down to the driver that finishes number 2, Cameron Dance. You were waiting in the wings for a good bit while the Iconic Motorsports teammates were working together to try to draft back up to Russell. You found yourself, though, in front of them both at the end when they got split up on that last pit stop run. At what point did you decide to make the run on Ethan Hagen for the spot?
Just the way we were going. I mean, like, I was sitting by, so I missed pretty much the whole entire race pretty much, and I was just sort of cruising. I was like sitting, we were that far back, I was just like, oh, I'll go for a third. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to play with the podium. And then we started catching Ethan. I'm not quite sure what happened in the second round of pit stops or third round, I can't quite remember, but one of the round of pit stops he lost a lot of time and I wasn't sure what happened. So yeah, we just kept on closing in, and then by the time we got to him, it was just like, well, all we can do at this point is just sit behind cruise and see what happens come the last pit stop. And I accidentally blundered the last pit stop as well, because I was actually going to do what Ethan did, not take tyres, and then they started changing tyres but didn't put fuel in it. I was like, oh, this doesn't go great. So yeah, luckily they put enough fuel in and put it in quick enough that it covered tyres. So yeah, that went better, and yeah, it was the right call in the end.
And of course, with you finishing ahead of Ethan Hagen here today, you will once again look to close in the point standings for that overall race lead. Do you reckon by the end of New Hampshire in 2 weeks, you'll be in the points lead?
Well, I hope so. I can't guarantee it, but obviously every point's going to count towards a championship at this point. It's just going to be all about maximizing point scores, really, and just trying to minimize the losses where we can. So yeah, we'll try what we can. Obviously, a couple good rounds coming up, so looking forward to it. But yeah, we'll try what we can, and hopefully we'll come away with the points lead.
Well, congratulations on finishing runner-up today. It's a good points haul, and critically, you're closing in on that battle for the title. We'll see you in 2 weeks at the Magic Mile.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Cameron Dance finishing number 2 at the end of the night. That'll bring us down to Ethan Hagen, the driver that comes up just shy of that third place at the end of the race. Ethan, you and Thomas were really having a big scrap there, trying to see if you could both close up to Alexander Russell. How confident were you that you may have been able to catch up to Alexander Russell in that final 100 there?
Well, I mean, when Thomas and Cameron was behind me, I thought we were going to catch Alex there pretty quickly, but we didn't catch up quick enough. But still don't know how Alex pulled away that much on us after every pit stop. I need to look on the replays and such of how he did it. But all in all, it was a good race. I'm a bit disappointed that I finished third. I thought I'd been, a win at most. But in the end of the day, we'll take the points we can and head to New Hampshire.
It's still an absolutely solid drive for you. You're picking up yet another podium. It feels like just about every single race you've been in this year, you've been finishing on the top 3. So consistency so far has been key. What are you going to have to do in New Hampshire to keep that consistency alive?
Definitely just stay consistent. Like, just don't get into trouble. Don't mess up on pit stops. Just be in the front and get the bonus points, get pole, lead the most laps, and just do the best we can and hopefully get a win as well.
Well, we'll get set to see you again when we go racing 2 weeks from now in Loudon. Congratulations on the 3rd place finish tonight, and hey, we'll be seeing you once again in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be fun.
Ethan Aga comes home 3rd place at the end of the night, and well, with that, that's about all the time we're going to have for one show tonight. Holy cow, what an absolutely wild race. Austin Edstrom not able to join us here for the closing stages of this one, but that race was a very, very fun drive indeed. A lot of strategy involved, as will be the case when we go racing 2 weeks from now in New Hampshire. But before we get to all of that, we, of course, will first have to go and race at the Darlington Raceway for the High Tide Racing League MF Racing Science Cup Series. 1 race remains in the round of 8 before we will lock out the final 4. You can check it out at that 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, along with so many other drives coming throughout the course of the next week or so. There is a lot to be excited about in August, and we're going to be with you for every single lap from start to finish. If you want to find more about who we are and what we can offer you today, you can check us out today at www.greenflighttv.com, and also be sure to check out estv.co for all of their distribution partners, where they will be rebroadcasting this race 1 week from now at the tail end of next week on Sunday. For now, on Greenflight TV, my name has been Nolan Rempel. We want to thank everybody here for joining us for some more epic racing action with the Classic Indycar Series. Boy, 2 weeks from now, the Magic Mile going to be an absolute barn burner. For now, my name is Nolan Rempel. I have been alongside Austin Edstrom. We'll see you in 2 weeks when we go racing in New Hampshire.